It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Paris Martineau's here. Yay, she's back. Jeff Jarvis is here also. We'll talk about two big court decisions going against Google, one for the App Store, and, well, one is the DOJ saying, I think we're going to break Google up. We'll see what happens with that. We'll also talk about the states, more than a dozen of them, suing TikTok. And is Peter Todd really Satoshi Nakamoto? I have some thoughts. All that coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 789, recorded Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Mauritius compliance. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, a show where we talk about the latest news from the Googleverse, which covers pretty much everything out there in the internet cloud. Paris Martineau's back. Hallelujah.
Yay!
From theinformation.com, she writes for the weekend section talking about apparently children's flag football. So that's good. That'll be exciting.
Only the important topics.
She's covering issues.
Online child safety.
Yeah, issues with the youths and online and all that. That's a good subject, isn't it? Boy, these days.
That it is.
Great. We missed you. Your friend Ed is a character and a half.
I love that I've introduced Ed into the Twit universe. And that he
God.
just can come
him?
on through Twitter. I feel like, he tweeted his way into my heart and yours.
Yeah.
Your nihilistic heart.
That's Jeff Jarvis, Professor Emeritus of Journalism at the City University of New York. Well, we should say at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York, Emeritus. And Jeff has now created a kiosk in his office.
Well, the Web We Weave is officially out. Get your copy now.
Buy the whole set.
He did a TikTok where he opened the boxes. It's hysterical. Is that your first TikTok or is that?
No, I did it before.
You've done.
Like
it was cute. It was really
Doing
cute.
a lot of dances on there.
So I have all the books. I do. But the latest is this: The Web We Weave. Soon to be a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah,
Why we must reclaim the internet from moguls, misanthropes, and moral panic.
I got my first review, and it's
Moral
a pan.
panic, you say?
So who panned you?
Oh, some old biggie.
Some old biddy.
Bad feeling about this.
Hey, I didn't realize we still had that. I thought we left it at
We
the
apparently
studio.
have 20 of them. I think we
There's a bunch
realized.
of them.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know that. We have versions.
We have a bunch of versions of that.
Yes.
Wow.
It's just I don't have a hotkey for it, so it's hard to hit on time.
You got to bring it up. Yeah. All I have is John Slanina going, hey. That's the only thing I brought. Hey. Anyway, well, you don't deserve bad reviews, although I would imagine the people who don't like it are the people who are lobbying for the shutdown of social media.
That's what it is. Yes. Yes.
This week,
the
what is it? 13 states attorney general decided that they're going to go after social media and shut her down.
Well, TikTok's on the way out anyway, so you're wasting your breath.
They said it's like cigarettes. It's like nicotine in cigarettes, this social media. It's not causing cancer, you nitwits.
No.
You're nitwits.
Moral entrepreneurs.
Yeah. It was 13 states and the District of Columbia sued TikTok on Tuesday, arguing that the company deliberately designed the app to be addictive to children and that it has misrepresented the effectiveness of its content moderation efforts to consumers.
And
this is kind of advancing a novel legal strategy that's been finding purchase in courts around the U.S. lately, which is they're trying to basically sidestep Section 230 protections by using the principles of product liability to get these companies on
that's interesting.
negligent design or essentially just, knowing that something in their product could harm consumers in some way and continuing to do it anyway.
Section 230 protects them against being sued for either moderating or not moderating the content. They can't be held liable for something other people post or that they take down because it's bad. but
So
so they can't go
specifically
after him
what
for
these
that.
suits are doing is they're targeting the TikTok algorithm in different parts of the TikTok platform, saying that, the way that age gating was implemented, the process by which they determine, like, are you under 13 or not, that it was designed in a defective way that could have harmful impacts, or the algorithm could have harmful impacts on mental health of young users, and they knew that and continued to make those choices anyway.
Let me channel Ed Zitron from last week's show. Social media is killing children. The algorithm is like nicotine. That's not a very good Ed Zitron, but you get the idea that people very, very much feel that. And it feels, and by the way, that's what you're arguing against very much in the web we weave, Jeff.
Yeah, but I'm trying to actually find the Supreme Court up until now has again and again thrown down this argument. I can't find it in my own book. Should have an index. Thrown down the idea that
it does have an index.
I know it does, but I can't find it right now. It's thrown down the idea that censoring for children is okay because it's for children.
Right. It's always
fundamentally insulting
for
to
children.
Them. Now, interestingly, this week, and if I may do just a little tiny detour, we'll come back to it.
No, detour Ray, because this is going to be a fast-moving, fast-paced episode with many, many stories.
Oh, okay. Unlike last week when we did 2.
Yes.
So sorry, I'll get rid of this.
I gotta laugh at your kiosk. That is the funniest thing ever. By the way, I hope that Glenn Fleischman never sees that you're using his books to prop up the web we weave. That's how you keep it. That's how you keep it stable. That's the type Shift Happens book that Glenn did.
Notice that it's right here because I'm using it for research for the.
Oh, okay. So that's not really a show kiosk.
Look at this. My desk is covered with books.
I love stacks of printer paper.
Book cart. Then we have more books over here.
My.
I am working.
That's a proper desk.
It is.
That is really impressive.
If
anybody your camera is never going to be back in the right spot.
No, it's not.
It's
not.
We can't see you. Goodbye, Jeff.
Wait a minute. Just in sympathy, I'm just going to lower my shot. Let's all sit a little lower.
Oh, wait.
Now he's high.
Oh, we're going to do this.
Oh, make up your mind, Mr. Jarvis.
Touch my mouth. What do you want to see? Yeah. So last week, I think we actually
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard to adjust from here. Oh, God. How do I do it?
Laugh.
Okay, the show's fallen apart already in the first 7 minutes. That's impressive.
Where was I when I was so rudely digressing myself?
We were talking about the fact that there are bad people out there who think that social media is addictive, and you talk about that in the web we weave.
And there are constitutional issues. So one of the AI bills that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, signed in the last month or so was last week enjoined because it was against deep fakes being promoted in social media. And a guy did a deep fake of Kamala Harris doing something, and he sued because he said it was a violation of his First Amendment rights to take it down, and the court agreed with him so far. So the First Amendment it's more than Section 230, the First Amendment comes into play again and again and again.
But Section 230,
I'll play devil's advocate here for a minute, because I've been talking to a lot of people.
Who do you think you are, Ed Zitron?
I know. I can't do a British accent, otherwise I would. But for instance, let's take the Safe for Kids Act. SAFE stands for something I'm not remembering, which is something that passed in New York recently. One of the provisions in that is that accounts for children should by default have an algorithmic recommendation engine turned off, and should instead display content from people like on Instagram the kid follows chronologically. That's ostensibly because they think, a problem a lot of kids have is, regulating their time. One of the things that makes it worse is if you have a recommendation algorithm that keeps serving them really interesting content. I don't think that that's that bad.
Wait a minute. That's just saying social media is too much fun. It's too interesting. So please make it boring, and then we don't have to worry about it being addictive.
Yeah, the algorithm often.
I mean, we do the same thing with like alcohol and cigarettes.
I set up my Facebook because somebody told me, you can't have, because I kept saying, I want the I want just the friend feed, the chronological feed. I set it up. It was the most horribly boring list of stuff. One guy posted half of it. It's not good. So what's wrong with a company saying, look, we want to give people what they want to see?
It's not for everybody. It's just I'm forgetting the exact age range, but let's say like under 16-year-olds or under 13-year-olds if they're using a product. I don't think that's that bad of a policy to say by default you have one feed. If you have parental permission, you can change it to the normal one. That's fine. But on very specific kid accounts, to have by default kind of increased operation standards, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Children's television, Teletubbies is far too entertaining. We need to have it be droning teachers telling them about stuff they need to know. I mean, I don't mind them banning sugar cereal ads in children's TV programming, and it would be okay to say no advertising.
The algorithm is not bad. It is a choice of ranking, and ranking is made for many reasons. And I quote from a book just out. The governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, who not only killed congestion.
Former governor.
No, she's still the governor.
Oh, I was wishful thinking. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of Eric Adams. Oh, no, he's still mayor.
Well, we hope that he's former soon. Though, guess who may become our next mayor? But anyway, she said, do you understand how an algorithm works? It follows you. It preys on you.
No,
That's
it doesn't.
Classic moral panic crap.
Yeah. No, and I know you're doing a little bit of devil's advocate, but that's my job.
That's Leo's job.
But and I have said that myself, that the algorithm is the problem.
Yeah, you've blasted it in the past, but you're coming to learn.
Well, I just realized that all an algorithm is trying to make the content more interesting.
Well, that's a bit of an extrapolation. Really what it's doing is optimizing for
Stickiness.
Maximized engagement.
Yeah.
It's optimizing for how long will it keep this user on this website. And I do think that there's somewhat of an argument.
Is a proxy for satisfaction.
Isn't that,
yes,
two ways of saying
when
the
you're
same
talking
thing?
about like a, minor child, I think that there could be something to maybe having a different type of account for someone like under 16 or under 13 years old that perhaps doesn't optimize for that.
Okay, I won't disagree with having a different account for a young person, but the algorithm is irrelevant to that. I think you got taken in by a cupcake, Ms. Martineau.
What? I must have missed that discussion
before the show. So then what are the criteria? What is it that you want to do with the account? Okay, but the algorithm is just making ranking decisions. That's all it's doing is say, and as Leo said, it's often getting rid of the bad stuff, the boring stuff, the combative stuff. It depends on how it's written. Algorithms.
It's like saying we should make candy taste bad if children are going to eat it.
Well, you were just talking about how you'd be in support of no high sugar ads being shown to kids. I feel like it's kind of a similar vein of regulation. I mean, let's take, for example, this New York law I just mentioned. I believe the provisions in it are, some level of minor kid accounts should by default have chronological feeds instead of having algorithmic as the default. You can switch it if you want. And the other one is notifications for, I believe, under 13-year-olds should be by default muted from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah, I don't have a problem
I don't
with
think
that.
I don't think that's that
honestly,
big of a deal.
Shouldn't that be the parent's job? Why does the government have to decide when your kids are getting notifications?
I mean, why does the government decide anything? Why does the government regulate the
it's not like
airline
seatbelts.
industry? Why does the government decide whether we can advertise stuff to kids? I don't know. The government does a lot of stuff.
I don't know if I can codify it, but there is definitely stuff that it's an appropriate thing for the government to do and stuff that's appropriate thing for the parent to do. I guess
something
the
that
government
I
could
recently
tell
learned,
companies is you have to give better parental controls to the parents. There should be a switch that says no notifications at night, and the parents should be made aware of that. But the presumption really is, parents aren't going to care. They're not going to do anything, so we have to. And it bothers me a little bit.
And it's a red herring. Show me the research that says that the algorithm does this to children. That's what I couldn't find. And it's the algorithm has now been demonized, which is like demonizing math.
I mean, I agree. I think like even that Hochul quote you just did, it's ridiculous the way that something as simple as an algorithm has been demonized. But I do think that there is something like to your question of like, oh, it should be the parents' responsibility. I agree. I was talking to kind of a big supporter of this recently, of these sort of regulations recently. And I posed that question to her asking like, well, shouldn't all of this be parental responsibility? And she did bring up an interesting point I hadn't thought about, which is like, she gave an example of has three kids. At one point, she downloaded one of those software services. I think Bark is the name of one of them, where essentially it's like spyware for your phone, where it sits in the back and monitors every social media app, every texting thing, anything you have on there, and you can set certain triggers and it'll alert you for all of it. And she did like whatever the basic bare minimum was, and she was like, I was receiving 500 to 1,000 alerts a day. She was like, it was incredible. She's like, I'm really privileged, so I was able to deal with that. But most people who do not, who, maybe work two jobs, probably can't. And right now, these social media companies don't seem to have parental settings in place to make it easy for parents. Facebook only recently, or Meta only recently came out with this with Instagram.
Let's deal with that then.
The other thing I think is I agree. The other thing I think is notable that she brought up that I hadn't thought about is she's like, for a lot of parents she knows, they don't allow their kids to have any access to personal devices like phones or computers. But that doesn't work because nowadays, if you have a kid in elementary school, they're going to be sent home with an iPad, school issued, or a computer starting in middle school, a Chromebook. I mean, and you might say, I think the gasp is somewhat warranted. But also, it's incredibly difficult to then police your child's social media use if they have a computer 24/7.
If the kids are being given computers from the schools, it's incumbent on the schools to do the right thing and make sure those are not introducing stuff into the house. I think whoever provides the object should be responsible for making sure the object does no harm. What about this example?
How are they going to do that?
Explain to me how this is different from, let's take the sugar out of candy if it's sold to people under 13, because it's clearly bad for them. It causes tooth decay. It's we're learning more and more the sugar is actually a poison. We should take sugar out of candy. But only for people who are underage.
I don't disagree that could be an argument.
You think we should?
I don't think we should I don't have any strong personal beliefs on either of these subjects. I think the difference is that the social media issue has become such a big issue for parents in recent years that they're mobilizing on it. Meanwhile, sugar isn't something that's incited
and
more mobilization.
Entrepreneurs are exploiting this and making more fear and not using research. The problem in so much of this, for a lot of kids who feel very lonely and very depressed, there's a lot of research that's actually I write about in the book, which says that it makes them feel better. They know that they're not alone in the world. It's a way that they have friends. Ed last week was talking about how it was very sad, really, about how he had no friends, none at all. And the internet, time and time again, is a place where kids can see that they're not alone, that they find other people who sympathize with them. That is an important human connection that's being cut off because of a fear of a screen or an algorithm. It's pure moral panic.
There's also the argument that...
Is this going to be a different one?
Houston, we have a problem.
There we go.
It's also the case that focusing on this distracts from real solutions, like make sure you fund mental health experts in every school, that you fund mental health centers, that you pay attention to what's going on for kids. There's a lot of things we could do that we don't do. It's very easy to blame, just say, well, it's big tech, we can fix it. Let's just ban them, and then we'll be all fine. And I think that's really a shortcut that unfortunately leaves behind real solutions. So there's also that. Anyway, it's a good conversation.
Okay. Yes.
I guess we'll let the courts decide, because the courts are so smart that they should be able to figure this out.
Obviously they're so smart. And I think it's a good conversation to have because I fall on both sides of the spectrum depending on what the day is.
Yeah, me too.
I think I can see, benefits in both sides. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this shakes out.
I was a laissez-faire parent. Even when my kids were, now they're 30 and 32, so that's, they're older than you, Paris. So they obviously didn't have access to the same social media you do or kids today have. But there was, even and then, should they play video games? Should you limit that to too much? Should you limit screen time, et cetera, et cetera? And I was pretty laissez-faire. I figured, well, we'll let them figure it out. And we would have discussions like, if you see something online that upsets you, please come to us and talk about it. We're never going to yell at you for seeing it. We want to talk about it and that kind of thing. They survived. So my inclination is laissez-faire. But I'll tell you, the other thing is I think parents should have whatever tools they need to keep their kids safe. It's up to the parent. And that's why I'm not crazy about government getting involved. I think government could mandate the tools. That's fine.
I do think that there is something to the argument, though, that, let's take, for example, these new teen accounts that Meta just rolled out for Instagram. That happened,
a good solution?
A week or two ago. But I don't know whether that's a good solution, but they had features in there that when I saw it, I was like, what? You didn't have this beforehand? To where, if you're a child who's told Meta, I'm 13, now your account by default doesn't let any stranger that wants to connect with you and message you, Yeah. I think, and now there are stronger supports for if a parent wants to have parental controls on that kid's account, they can. And I think those are both good things. And they only have come because Meta has been bullied for years, like months and months and years, by angry parents and threatened with serious legislation and regulation by state and federal lawmakers.
Yeah, remember when the Senate committee made Mark Zuckerberg stand up and apologize to the parents in the gallery?
And now he says he's done apologizing. That also probably backfires, because rather than having a cooperative discussion about this, it became so combative, and he just says, screw it.
Yeah, maybe that's really what we need, is this sense that we are all coming from a point of goodwill, and that we're trying to find a solution that's best for our kids.
I agree, but I would also say, something that struck me when I was reading it was a couple weeks ago, the Department of Justice sued TikTok for various violations of COPA, the Children Online Privacy and Protection Act, and a different agreement. And it went into great detail in the complaint of the lawsuit, all the various ways in which TikTok had been deficient in stopping children under the age of 13 from making accounts as adults. And one of the things that they mentioned was that TikTok has, I guess, some form on their website where if you're a parent and you're like, my 8-year-old has a TikTok account and I want it to be deleted, TikTok's system for responding to those requests was so deficient that the vast, vast, vast majority of requests from parents went nowhere. Wow. Even if parents did everything correctly, filled out all the forms, TikTok would ignore it, and in some ways built a system specifically to keep those accounts around and active for the kids when parents wanted to get them taken down.
That should definitely be fixed. Although all that's means is that TikTok is operating at the same level as our government does. So I
think that's probably why
as the United States government.
Yeah, I
have to say, it hurts me a little bit to think of banning TikTok because of my son, who. So one of the things we've been talking about, Benito said this a couple of weeks ago, and it really sunk in with me. If you're going to start a new project, a podcast or a YouTube video or whatever, you need to put it somewhere where there's an algorithm, where there's a discovery engine, because discovery is impossible in a world where there are millions of creators. You need to put it somewhere where an algorithm can promote you. My son started making sandwiches on TikTok and paid attention to what the algorithm promoted and what it didn't promote, and worked hard to make sure that his videos appealed to the algorithm, presuming that the algorithm was doing what it did because it appealed and turned to people, right? It's watching likes and so forth. And he's been able to build a pretty darn good career out of it. I'm holding up his cookbook as I'm talking about that, which is available in bookstores everywhere. Salt Hank, a 5 napkin situation by Henry Laporte. Buy it at bookstores everywhere. But that is, I think, 100% owed to the marriage of TikTok's algorithm and his ability to create stuff that fit the algorithm. Without that, he's just one of 1,000 or 100,000 TikTok chefs or YouTube chefs.
Yep.
That's why I'm kind of, I feel a certain loyalty to TikTok. And if they're doing stuff wrong, they need to work on it. Obviously, if they, parents should be able to say to TikTok, hey, this is a kid, block his account, whatever. That needs to be fixed. Obviously, I'm not against that. Let's take a little break.
There? Oh, I'm sorry.
There's lots of news. Let's take a little break
too, yes.
because we now know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. And the answer may amaze you. I'm going to argue for this one, but I'll tell you, we'll talk about it in just a second. Also, if you've got
one of the arguments for him being Satoshi is that they share the same favorite pizza toppings.
Be
Leo.
patient.
I'll just put that out there.
Be patient. We'll get to that. Also, the .io domain is going to disappear in all likelihood. What are you going to do then, Google.io? All of that and more coming up in just a little bit on This Week in Google. Paris Martineau's back. We're so glad to see her. And by the way, coordinating the Monstera sweater and glasses. and the green lighting behind you. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Are your parents in the wake of the hurricane?
They are thankfully not in the part where
I know they're
Florida
in Florida
that's going to be hit by the hurricane.
Yeah. Our deepest thoughts and good wishes to the people in North Carolina and Florida and the areas affected by first Helene and now, what's his name? Milton.
It truly looks like it's going to be devastating. I mean, the Tampa Bay area hasn't been directly hit by a hurricane in 100 years.
Yeah, it's been
rough.
Spared time and time and time again, and it's time. It looks like it's come.
Did you see the amazing animation the Weather Channel did about storm surges?
Yeah, it was really good.
That was a really good example of, normally I don't like this kind of show-offy effects. Yep. But let me just, I probably get taken down for this. I don't care. It's so good. Just show a little bit of it. The anchor is, I'm not playing the audio. Maybe that'll help. Is standing in a street with a car and the storm is coming and he's describing what a storm surge would look like. And he says, well, here's a 3-foot storm surge. It's 6 feet. This is very effective in really showing what people who are deciding to so-called ride it out are going to face. With a 9, that's 9 feet. You have very little chance of survival. And we're talking some areas.
It's not just that you're on the second floor, the house goes down.
Yeah, the whole thing's gone.
And they're even showing all the stuff that's floating in that water.
Yeah. That's the other problem, of course. So I really, I thought that was a really good example of using CGI very effectively for information. Good job, Weather Channel. Please don't take us down. All right, we'll come back with more in just a bit. You're watching This Week in Google, brought to you today by US Cloud. I had a great conversation with these guys. I have to admit, I hadn't heard of them. They're I should have. They're the number one Microsoft Unified Support replacement. Now, a lot of people use Microsoft. A lot of enterprises use Microsoft for their support. It might be coming with your license and so forth. But it isn't really a pay-as-you-go deal. You buy you just kind of buy it whether you're going to use it or not. And it is maybe not the most effective for your business. That's why so many people now turn to US Cloud, the global leader in third-party Microsoft enterprise support. They don't say it, but I'm going to say it. Better support than Microsoft for less. Supporting 50 of the Fortune 500. Switching to US Cloud can save your business 30 to 50% on a true comparable replacement for Microsoft Unified Support. But it's more than that. US Cloud supports the entire Microsoft stack 24/7, 365. They respond faster. They resolve tickets quicker for clients all around the world. You're always going to talk to real humans based in the US, and even more importantly, you're going to talk to engineers who have the knowledge and the skill set. They go the extra mile to bring in the best brains so that they're there for you when you need help. Expert level engineers with an average of 14.9 years in the business. And that's for break fix or DSE. 100% domestic teams. Your data and your call and all of your business never leaves the U.S. And here's something Microsoft will not do. Financially backed SLAs on response time. Initial ticket response average under 4 minutes. Fast help, good help at a cost that's lower than Microsoft. In 2023, 94% of U.S. Cloud's clients reported saving 1/3 or more when switching from Microsoft Unified support to U.S. Cloud. So you save, but it's also better support. From Fortune 500 companies and large health systems to major financial institutions, even federal agencies, U.S. Cloud ensures that vital Microsoft systems are working for over 6 million users globally every day. I'm talking big brands that trust U.S. Cloud: Caterpillar, HP, Aflac, Dun & Bradstreet, Under Armour, KeyBank, even the IT folks at Gartner have chosen U.S. Cloud for their Microsoft support needs. It's kind of a no-brainer. Costs less? Check. Better support? Check. Faster support? Check. Financial SLAs? Check. One director of information technology says, and within an hour, U.S. Cloud responded with, I want to say, 4 engineers. So not only did they bring the right guys to the call, they brought the cavalry. I just felt like, wow, that was amazing. That was unlike anything I'd experienced with Microsoft in my 8 years of being with Premier. We made the right choice. This is the company. And by the way, when it comes to compliance, no one gets it more than U.S. Cloud. ISO, GDPR, ESG compliance, not just regulatory requirements, but strategic imperatives for U.S. Cloud that drive operational efficiency, legal compliance, risk management, and corporate reputation. These standards foster trust and loyalty with your customers, with your stakeholders. They attract investment. They ensure long-term sustainability and success in a very competitive global market. You want U.S. Cloud. Visit uscloud.com. Book a call today. These guys are fantastic. I was so glad I called them. Find out how much your team could save. U.S. Cloud. Call them today. uscloud.com. Book a call. Get faster Microsoft support for less from the best. U.S. Cloud. We're so glad to welcome them to This Week in Google and to the whole Twit network. I think this is the first time we've talked about them. Really, really great company, offering an amazing service. All right, back we come to Twig. And this was, I forced myself to stay up late last night watching Electric Money, which is a new HBO documentary from the same guy who did the QAnon documentary, and I think quite credibly Unmasked Q. Did you watch the... yeah.
I mean, I think he quite credibly unmasked Q because the Q kid. The important part of unmasking Q was going back through old 4chan forum posts and 8chan forum posts. And I think that he and his team are an expert at that kind of digital research. I'm not sure if the same is true with Satoshi Nakamoto.
So that's the Electric Money is about, or Money Electric, I guess is the name, is about Bitcoin. It's, I'm watching it before they even start going into, well, who is Satoshi Nakamoto, and thinking this is very, very positive about Bitcoin. Doesn't really mention a lot of the consequences of Bitcoin. Instead, kind of sells Bitcoin. Cullen Hoback, the filmmaker, though, I think really intended it all along to be unmask the creator of Bitcoin, who has been mysterious since 2012. He's dropped off the internet, disappeared. He wrote the paper that was the Bitcoin is based on. He created what they call the Genesis block, the first block in the blockchain, and is thought to have 1 million Bitcoins in his wallet. So
hang on right there for a second, if I may.
Yeah.
Like, Alexander Hamilton creates the U.S. Treasury and doesn't keep $1 million for himself for doing so.
Right.
There seems to be, granted, whoever this is hasn't cashed any of it in, but it really gives me a bad taste to think that someone creates a currency, but does so to that tremendous personal advantage.
Well, yeah. Good point. Like might be a pyramid scheme.
Right.
Like maybe, yeah. I mean, they don't debate that. I mean, they don't go into it either, but I agree with you. I mean, there are definitely things about Bitcoin that are
I thought when it started, I thought, oh, this is cool. And blockchain is really cool technology. And I kind of went along with it. And of course, the culture of the crypto bros is enough to turn you off on anything.
Yeah.
But it really is an interference with economic systems in a way that isn't regulated, really. And it's disturbing. So on the one hand, why do I care who Satoshi is? But on the other hand, I guess maybe we should.
Well, if he has what would make him a 60 billionaire now and potentially a trillionaire down the road worth of Bitcoin. Now, of course, if he were to cash even any significant part of that in, it would probably undermine Bitcoin entirely, right? And the confidence in it, which might explain why he hasn't. There's some people have also thought that he might be dead, right? That or maybe it's not one person, maybe it's a couple of people.
Leo, I've got it. You've talked about your drive with your Bitcoin on it.
Yeah.
And how you can't open it up.
Yeah.
I think that's just been a confession that you, Satoshi.
There's 1 million Bitcoin on my drive.
Yeah, and you keep doing this podcast thing, and you complain about the business being down as a cover.
It is interesting. They point out in the documentary, there is a way to burn Bitcoin publicly in such a way that everybody would know you no longer have access to it. And that has not happened. The person I think, and this is maybe just me, I think he in effect said two people are Satoshi Nakamoto. The two people but the person that by the way, both of them deny it. As one would if one were Satoshi Nakamoto, who knows what the United States government or any other government might do to you.
And kidnapping you and all kinds of things.
Or not to mention terrorists who would want your Bitcoin and on and on and on. So I don't blame whoever it is for being anonymous and for denying it. I think, now so you watched all the way to the end, because at the end of the documentary, there is this, I think it's become the Cullen Hoback trademark. He gets the two guys together in like a deserted factory in Slovenia. Because Peter Todd, who he thinks is Satoshi Nakamoto, is a caver. He likes a Torontonian. He was if he is Satoshi Nakamoto, he would have written Bitcoin's seminal paper at the age of 22. The biggest piece of evidence is very flimsy, which is that Satoshi on the forums before Nakamoto disappeared, Satoshi posted on the Bitcoin forum before Bitcoin was even, the paper came out, kind of he was thinking out loud. And all of a sudden, this guy, Peter Todd, who's never been around, he's only made one other post, basically finishes the sentence in a way that shows a deep technical understanding of what the issues are. And then both Satoshi Nakamoto and Peter Todd disappear. Colin Hoback's theory is that Peter Todd is Satoshi, was posting as Satoshi, accidentally logged back in using another account, posted, and then went, oh, shoot. And both disappeared.
And then never deleted it?
Well, never deleted it. And Todd says, well, why didn't I delete it? And I think you could make a credible case that deleting it would just, nothing ever is deleted from the internet, right? So that deleting it would just call attention to it.
I don't know that the forum posts are that indicative of it being the same person. The message, I'll read the Satoshi message here, and then I'll read the Peter Todd reply. There would need to be some changes in the Bitcoin miner side also to make the possibility to accept a double spend into the transaction pool, but only strictly if the inputs and outputs match and the transaction fee is higher. And then he, adds one other sentence about the transaction fee. And then Peter Todd responds, of course, to be specific, the inputs and outputs can't match exactly if the second transaction has a transaction fee. I don't think that is some secret forbidden knowledge.
No, it's
that
not,
A
but-
transaction fee would make something not match.
I will add one more piece to this. What they're talking about is a pay for fee piece that was not included in the original paper, but Peter Todd later wrote and added to the Bitcoin, the ability to pay extra to get a faster transaction. So Peter Todd did, in fact, implement that piece of Bitcoin later. To me, the thing, you're right, it's flimsy, to say the least. I'm watching it, though, and he's getting real squirrely. And I'm kind of thinking, he looks damn guilty. I mean, he reacted exactly as you would expect somebody who was pretending not to be Satoshi Nakamoto would act. Now, the other person standing next to him was Adam Back, who is the chief executive of a Bitcoin development company called Blockstream. The only other person mentioned by name in the Bitcoin paper. The only person who is thought to know who Nakamoto is, in fact, he's been holding on to an email exchange between him and Satoshi Nakamoto for years, saying, well, it's not mine to reveal. I think, personally, it's not just Peter Todd. I think it's Peter Todd plus Adam Back, who had written something called Hashcoin a few years earlier, which was kind of an early Bitcoin, an early cryptocurrency. I honestly think that the most credible answer is that this kid, Peter Todd, who was a genius, who is also, by the way, nobody in the Bitcoin community wants him to be Satoshi Nakamoto. He's pretty widely disliked. I think it's him and Adam Back.
How crypto boyish is he?
Yeah. Well, what he's not, though, is a Bitcoin bro, which is interesting. He's not the, and he doesn't, I don't think he ever cashed in a lot of Bitcoin or anything. I think he and Adam Back did it together. They certainly had the means, the technical ability to do it. Hoback did catch Todd lying about his skills in C++. Todd says on camera, I don't know C++, but in fact wrote an entire system in C++ some years earlier. I think they got him. Now, what does it matter? Probably not at all. But it's fascinating, and it's exactly the kind of person the Bitcoin community would not like. It's not. He's no magical, brilliant, dark knight created a world-changing cryptocurrency. He was just some annoying kid who was really skilled. I don't know. I like it. I'm going with it. Peter Todd and I'm going with Adam Back was right there and did part of it.
Paris,
as well.
your best argument against its pizza?
Yeah, what's the pizza
I think
topping
that one
thing?
of their one of the arguments in the documentary was based on the Satoshi account saying that its favorite pizza topping is pineapple and jalapeno, and that also being Peter Todd's favorite pizza topping.
That's
Craig
not
Newmark likes
I
pineapple
mean, I
on his
think
pizza.
that's as
Yeah, but
critical
pizza
as
and
all the other
jalapeno
stuff
is not.
you said.
Pineapple and jalapeno is not completely normal. That's not a very common. It's usually
I
pineapple
mean,
and bacon.
I don't think
Canadian
that.
bacon.
I think that it's probably pretty likely that someone who was maybe involved in the early days of Bitcoin, then when confronted in a warehouse with an entire camera crew and a director accusing you in hours-long interviews of being Satoshi Nakamoto, that you're going to get defensive and act weird. I also think, I don't know any of the stuff about the C++, but I could think of conceivable explanations to why someone would say they don't know a programming language. Perhaps they were referring to not knowing it that well, or they don't really think they're
No,
that
he did it as
competent
part
in
of a denial, saying, I couldn't have written it. I don't know anything about C++.
I mean, I
honestly,
don't
this
think
is
it really
exactly
adds
what you
up.
would say if you were Satoshi Nakamoto.
I feel like you'd say
He
that about
started
any
contributing to
person's
code
denial.
in 2012, right at the beginning. I honestly feel like, well, look, we've seen a lot of specious announcements, including Newsweek's appalling announcement that they discovered Satoshi Nakamoto as a cover story, which to my knowledge, they never retracted. Did they ever? It was completely wrong. So it could be just another one of these. Who is Cullen Hoback? I mean, is it enough to say, well, I found out who Q was? I don't know if that's enough. It just rang quite true to me.
I mean, I think you just need more for it to be like a smoking gun.
Right.
I don't much care.
And does it matter is the bottom line.
I
And
mean,
honestly, he has Peter Todd, for whatever you think of him, has perfectly good reasons not to be outed. And I respect that because
What does he do for a living now?
he is on X. He says he is a cryptochromancer and web pie developer.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, this is Benito. So like why this does matter is because that if this person is Satoshi Nakamoto, then they essentially have control of the Bitcoin market.
They more than that. They have control of a world economy.
Exactly. So like that's what makes it important.
He says, Peter Todd said in a post, and they talk about this in the documentary, that he did a very hard thing. He burned a bunch of Bitcoin. But there's no way to prove that because he didn't do it in a way that was provable. And so, I mean, I've burned my Bitcoin by forgetting my password. You can lose your Bitcoin very easily. Steve Gibson did it by erasing his hard drive. I mean, that's easy to do, but there's no provable. That's not provable. There is a provable way to do it, and he did not choose to do that. That raises some big issues. If he controls 1 million Bitcoin, he could collapse Bitcoin. And there are a number of nations. There's very active. Not just El Salvador, but a number of other nations that want to use Bitcoin as their currency. I think you're right, Benito. There is some, but what are you going to do? If you can't prove it. And if you could, let's say you could prove it and it really is him.
Then what?
Then what? I mean, I think also the question is like, if he or someone else is Satoshi, what are they going to do with that? Like,
Right.
You can't start moving Bitcoin out of your account. Otherwise, the whole market's going to catch on fire and people are going to freak out because Satoshi hasn't been active in years.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess maybe
could
as a
be Trump
national
Jr., it could
security
be Musk.
asset. Okay, now that you say that, actually, I will bring up, there was a time about a year ago where for weeks, every reporter at The Information was getting these emails, signal messages, calls to our personal phone, LinkedIn DMs, Twitter DMs from some guy being like, I've figured out who Satoshi Nakamoto is.
Yeah.
You've got to listen to us. And none of us really replied. And then afterwards, he would call and email again and be like, I figured it out. It's Elon Musk.
Oh,
and his proof
gosh.
was very similar to yours in the sense
nutty.
it's like both Elon and Satoshi use 2 spaces after a period. Satoshi posted in a time zone that was similar to where Elon was during some of those months. Both Satoshi and Elon have used the words bloody in messages and things like that. And that's what this documentary sounds like to me, is it is more wishful thinking of a loon.
Yeah. I'm going with it's Peter Todd and Adam Back. But again, I don't know what you do with it. You can't prove it, so I don't know what you do with it. It's a very interesting topic. Peter, if you're listening, come on the show and tell us why it's complete nonsense. His denial was not that credible. All right, let's see. Should we? Yeah, let's take another break, and then I do want to talk about .io. This could be a little bit of an issue, and it shows a little bit of a weakness in the whole domain name system thing.
Every system has weaknesses.
Okay, thank you.
We're all human.
Professor Jeff Jarvis, ladies and gentlemen. We need him. He's the resident intellectual here. Of course, Paris Martineau is the resident young person genius here.
And nihilist.
Self-described nihilist. I never knew that till Jeff told me you were a nihilist.
We've talked about that on this show, perhaps like 3 or 4 different episodes, Leo.
Maybe I didn't believe it. I knew you liked Nietzsche. I didn't know that you were a nihilist.
I mean, I would say I'm a soft nihilist in the
Soft
sense that like
nihilist, okay.
everything is meaningless, but that means we have to derive our own meaning from it.
I mean, optimistic nihilism is an actual philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I would say optimistic nihilist.
Yeah, that's kind of my philosophy, which is everything is meaningless and everything means something.
So a person, yeah, if you want it to mean something.
It's up to you. Yeah. And I'm just the dunderhead in the middle. I'm the bologna in the genius sandwich. Our show today brought to you by, and Benito's the mayonnaise.
Benito's the mustard, I was going to say.
The mustard, yeah. The show today, well, mustard on one side, bananas on the other side. I just invented a new topping, bananas. I might have to make that. Our show today brought to you by 1Password. I'm going to make that tonight, and I'll let you know how it comes out. 1Password is a great, by the way, company who has a new product called Extended Access Management that solves a really, I think, fundamental problem in business. Let me ask this rhetorical question because I know the answer. Do your end users always work on company-owned devices? Of course, right? And IT-approved apps. Never bring their own device into work. Never use their own apps, right? Wrong. So how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? That's why 1Password came up with Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device. It solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM cannot touch. Imagine your company's security like the quad of a college campus, right? You got these nice brick paths, winding little brick paths, leading from ivy-covered building to ivy-covered building. So pretty. Those are the company-owned devices, the buildings, and the IT-approved apps, the paths, and the managed employee identities walking up and down those paths. Then, in the real world, there are the paths people actually use, the shortcuts worn through the grass, the actual straightest line from building A to building B. Those are unmanaged devices, shadow IT apps, non-employee identities on your network like contractors, right? So most security tools just assume they only work on those happy brick paths. That's where they work. But a lot of security problems, I would say almost all of them, take place on the shortcuts. 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that takes all those unmanaged devices and apps and identities and puts them under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. It's security for the way we work today, and it's now generally available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra. And by the way, good on you that you're using Okta and Entra. That's fantastic. And now this takes it to the next step. So not only are the people authenticated, but the devices, the software as well. It's in beta for Google Workspace customers too. You'll be happy to know that. Also, here's the deal. Check it out. 1password.com/twig. That's the number 1, PASSWORD.com/twig. There's a lot of information there about how it works. I think it'll be very clear instantly why you need this. 1password.com/twig. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Google. I have to go because I've just invented bananas, and I have to go make some bananas right now.
I don't think Hank is going to approve.
I think Hank would. So you take
it'll be bad for his reputation now.
If his father,
it could be a really vegan mayonnaise alternative.
Well, my I guess you could. So I don't ever buy mayonnaise anymore. I make it. It's easy with an immersion blender. All you have to do you put 2. I use the Serious Eats recipe. 2 eggs. You put the whole egg in. You don't need water, just the egg. 2 eggs. You put a tablespoon of Dijon mustard in there, some salt, some lemon, and then oil. I use avocado oil. You want to use kind of an oil that doesn't have a lot of flavor. Now you whip it together and you got mayonnaise. That's mayonnaise. That's basically mayonnaise.
Does it keep in the refrigerator?
Yeah. And it's fresh, it's delicious. Don't make more than you're going to need in a week or 2.
Oh, okay.
It's not a giant jar of Hellmann's.
Our
it doesn't have anything
whip
else in
can
it.
Stay for years. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's other stuff in it. But this is really good. It's delicious, and you can put garlic in it. But you could also put a mushed up banana in there, and you'd have bananas.
That's true. Not enough people are
You
good.
could do that, but
a peanut butter and bananas sandwich.
I will say sometimes people substitute bananas for eggs in recipes.
So you could leave the egg out.
So you could replace the egg with a banana, and that could be bananas.
And
somehow Benito inspired
Benito's
this. I want to know what he says.
Wait, have you had banana ketchup?
No,
never heard of it.
Is that a Filipino
It's a Filipino
thing?
thing. Yeah, banana ketchup is delicious.
See? And I'm thinking for the holidays, you could put a little pumpkin spice in, and then you have pumpkin spice
Jesus.
bananas.
Wow.
Now you know
Ketchup.
where Salt Hank gets his genius. No, he would never, ever make anything like that. I don't think.
You should just text him bananas, question mark.
One word.
Yeah, oh, dude, yes.
Wait a minute, I'm
Where
going to
is
do
he
that right now.
Yeah, do it right now.
I would actually love his opinion on banana ketchup.
Okay.
I
Banana
like just
ketchup.
suggesting you strange things to text your son.
One word.
Villa Manila banana ketchup.
He says, why is it
Filipino
always on
sauce and
Wednesday
condiment.
I get weird texts from you?
And like,
Of
it's
course,
not a weird thing in the Philippines. It's like normal. Banana ketchup is on the table in
it
restaurants.
makes
banana
perfect
ketchup.
sense.
There's
It's
these
a tropical
brands.
ketchup. So I just texted him one word, bananas. We'll see what happens.
Question mark? Do you put a question mark?
No.
Oh. Exclamation point?
Yes. There's no question, my friend.
How did you spell bananas?
I guessed. Bananaise.
All right.
Right?
Sure.
So, what does .io stand for? Do you know? A trivia question.
Indian Ocean.
Ocean.
Very good.
I know because it's been in the news recently.
Oh.
Yeah. Because
So it's the country code domain
except for the show.
Yeah. I knew once, but I didn't remember. So it's the country code domain for the Chagos Islands, which is the British Indian Ocean territory, disputed territory for a long time. Mauritius said, that's ours. The British government said, it's ours, and took it. In 1814, the French ceded control of the Chagos Islands and the island country of Mauritius to the British. When the British took over, the islands remained a dependency of Mauritius. In 1965, the UK gave sovereignty to Mauritius, but said, we're going to keep the Chagos Islands and make it the British Indian Ocean territory. That's in 1965. In fact, and this is horrible, the UK forcibly removed the indigenous people, the Chagosian people, so the US could build a military, the US, us, could build a military base on the island. They displaced 1,500 people. That might sound a little familiar to you, Benito.
Colonialism.
Colonialism. Eventually, the Chagos Islands were given the .io country code. That was in 1997 by who else? The, IANA.
Even though they were a British protectorate, but they were independent enough to have their own country code.
Right. Well, that's not unusual, right? I mean, Canada is part of the Commonwealth, but it has its own. Anyway, the British government granted rights to sell IO domains to the Internet Computer Bureau, the ICB. Country's government receives revenue for any sites that register with their country code domain. For instance, Anguilla, which has the country code AI. Nice one, right? Expected to make $25 to $30 million from websites registered with the .ai domain. Yet Tuvalu is .tv. I have a .tv domain. Twit.tv is our domain, right? Unfortunately, the British government collected some of the revenue and didn't give it to the Chagosian people. In 2020, they submitted a claim to gain ownership, which they said of what they said was a $50 million property. This is from The Verge. But the UK has now finalized an agreement giving the Chagos Islands back to the Mauritians, to Mauritius, a move, by the way, the Chagosians said the government didn't even consult them on, ending the British Indian Ocean territory. It's all Mauritius now. And here's the problem. It also potentially ends the IO domain, the .io domain.
Why does it end it? Why can't
Isn't
everybody
it
just
still
agree to keep going?
The Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, the successor to IANA, has a process for retiring old country code domains within 5 years. This was after .su, which was the Soviet Union's domain, kind of lingered, even though the Soviet Union had gone on. In fact, it was used, apparently, according to The Verge, by cyber criminals. So,
I'm shocked.
No, every domain is used by cyber criminals.
Especially one associated with the Soviet Union.
Soviet Union, good. Since then, IANA has also had to recover the Yugoslavian domain .yu, although it went on for a few years after the country was broken up.
But if Chogos was part of the British Empire, couldn't it just as easily be part of Mauritius, but independent enough to have
And still have a .io?
Yeah. Human beings can decide these things.
Yeah, can't we just decide to make it not a country thing and just make it a regular domain?
The fact that Google uses it for Google I.O. Anyway, Emma Roth, who did a very, very good piece on this, explaining it all in The Verge, writes, for now, it's still too early to tell what will become of the .io domain, whether it will go through a similar transitional period like .yu, or if IANA will let the Chagosians keep it, because they say, we want it. We don't want the Brits to have it. We want the money. The Verge reached out to Identity Digital, the domain registrar that previously obtained rights to sell IO domains, and IANA for information about IO's future, but we haven't heard back.
Okay, so there it is. It's the money.
It's the money, because the Chagosians say, wait a minute. We make, just like, by the way, Tuvalu is sinking. Yeah. Tuvalu will, in the next few decades, disappear under the ocean.
There goes your domain, too.
Well, but the Tuvalans would very much like to move to another island and keep .tv.
As Tuvalans, yes.
Because it's a lot of money. I don't know. There are a lot of .io people who use .io out there, including my bookmarking service, Raindrop.io. It's a big deal to change a domain extension.
Yeah. Especially a really popular one.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's that story. What do you guys got?
Do you have any .io domains, Leo?
I do, yes. I think I do.
Which
ones? That's a good question.
Yes. How many domains do you own?
I was going to say, how much do you spend a year on domains?
Hundreds of dollars.
Didn't you clean them out somewhat?
No. Why would I do that?
Jesus.
None of them are worth anything?
None of them are worth a thing. I still have tunictime.com and fancypants.com. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I had S widget spelled out.
Swidget?
No,
you don't have fancypants.com. We've talked about this.
Oh, that's right. I gave. Right. So it's true. Some of them have lapsed. Normally, I have auto.
No, that went to your wife, your ex-wife.
I gave it that. She got it in the divorce settlement. Right. That would be
Fancy
funny.
pants.
I should write to her. Hey, hon, do you think you still want fancy pants and tunic time? Let me see. I'm just going to log into Hover here and see what's happening. I feel like I have a .io. I think there's
I could own pair.is. PAR.is. It's never going to happen.
Why not? IS is Iceland. You should be able to get that.
It was bought. It was registered by someone else in 2007.
Some dope.
Can't find a way to purchase it, and I'm sure if I did, it would be like $1 million. Hey, if you're out there, owner of PAR.is, please give it to me for a reasonable price. I
was miffed because I wanted Leo.com, which would be a fantastic domain, right? Or a Leo.anything. The Royal Bank of Canada's mascot is a lion named Leo, so they owned Leo.com for the longest darn time. And then they let it lapse, and I didn't notice, and some domain squatter. Jeez. Yes, I have Laporte.io.
Oh.
Yeah, Laporte.io.
My son got Jarv.is.
It's registered to...
that's really good. Jarv.is?
I got to update the address. Good. It's registered to the Twit Cottage. I've had this since 2016, and it will not expire till 2025. So I should really think about it now. Should I keep it? Do the Bagosians need it? What was their names for the Chagosians? Do they need it? Do they need the money
instead of them?
Yeah. I have so many silly domain names. I probably should
get Leo.lol for $3,000.
Yeah, no, see, not worth it. I do have, I think I have an LOL domain. I have a .fun domain. So I don't know if I have no LOLs. How many domains do you have, Paris? You have a lot, probably, yeah? Not
really. I just have parismartno.com and paris.nyc.
Oh, I like Paris.nyc.
Right?
That's kind of an interesting juxtaposition of
two
big cities, one after the other.
Both
I love Paris.nyc.
encapsulating your spirit, yes.
What do you use it for anything?
I just use it for my Blue Sky handle, and it also redirects to my website.
Oh, so you do have a website.
Yeah.
Paris.nyc, man.
Right. Pretty good.
Oh, that's the best.
I finally just this week started using jeffjarvis.com.
What were you using before?
Well,
the Gutenberg
Gutenberg-parenthesis.com. I forgot that I owned it. My old employers, Advance, somebody sat on it and tried to screw me. And so the lawyers for Advance went and got it, and I forgot it. They paid for it for years. They finally said, Jeff, can you take this off our hands?
We don't want it. We got it. We don't want it.
We don't want you
Speaking
anymore.
of sitting on things, I know last week we talked about our Owala bottles, Paris.
Yes.
Just a little tip. I sat on the lid.
Oh, how?
And the springs went boing. But it turns out Amazon sells a fake third party.
Yeah, that does look fake. Look at the colors.
Compatible lid for only $8. Well, I was going to buy a whole new one, but the can's still good. So I just bought the new lid. Anyway, just a little tip. Who
says this show isn't useful?
It wasn't a Prime deal or anything.
Get Wirecutter. You can
I feel so bad for people who work at sites like the Wirecutter, The Verge, because they're going crazy right now because Prime Days, right? The second one of the year.
Yeah.
I never find anything I want in Prime Days. Never.
Do you, Paris?
It's
Are you
barely
a Prime shopper?
holiday. No, I'm not.
It's barely a holiday.
I had to do the Prime Day gift guides for New York Magazine one year, and it was a nightmare. Right now, what all those writers are doing is combing through an endlessly long Excel spreadsheet and looking at meager deals and trying to find a way to get readers excited about it because it pays for their salary.
Exactly.
Yep.
I remember one day we thought we weren't going to make our Prime Day targets, and then 4 people bought like a $5,000 TV using our affiliate link, and there we were.
Yep.
Yes, you got to keep doing it. Whose site? I was trying to remember. Some site said, maybe it was Wirecutter. Here are the 4,393 good deals in the 28,972 Amazon Prime deals. It made me go, oh my God, that hurts. That hurts. Whoever had to do that. I was just searching for that story. I don't see it here anywhere. Anyway.
So I just put up a little news about OpenAI from the FT.
There's a big story about OpenAI, actually.
From the information from a few minutes ago.
Oh.
Okay, let's do that. Then I'll do mine. What's the story?
OpenAI burned $340 million in the first half of 2024. They project
they got
their
$167 billion.
Their total losses between 2023 and 2028 are going to be $44 billion.
So that means they have a 4-year runway.
Yeah, they don't know, I think, how, when they're going to be profitable, or they're not going to be profitable for a very long time, I believe.
But according to my story, it won't matter.
Why not?
Because now the latest gambit from Altman is that he wants to structure OpenAI. As we know, he wants to structure as a for-profit company and the not-for-profit, but he wants to structure it as a public benefit company.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's better than...
it's just a trick to fend off.
Yeah, it's not really real.
Takeovers.
It's not. I know a lot of public... I thought that you had to... I don't know, be a public benefit or something.
But yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, you make some fakey, we're really good.
It's not quite non-profit, but you're not allowed to get rich, right?
No, you can get as rich as you want, but the thing is that what it does is it protects you from raiders coming and saying you're not making enough profit.
Oh.
So what he's protecting here is his lack of profitability going forward by doing this, to hide behind a public benefit, because Sam is, I wouldn't trust him.
So my stories were actually about AI also. Geoffrey Hinton wins a Nobel Prize in physics. Hinton, of course, is the godfather of AI.
One of many,
but he was the guy who came up with neural networks many, many years ago. He's also one of the signatories of the letter.
Which I think is why they gave it to him. I think that the
you think?
Nobels have become more and more political, and I think it's an opportunity for them to give him attention.
Interesting.
The Wall Street Journal did immediately. The Wall Street Journal said, and he's screaming about danger.
Right.
The Wall Street Journal loves to do that.
Well, you know who else won a Nobel Prize?
Big deal.
Demis Hassabis.
Which really says that Google has really become, or at least was, a key basic research, the new Bell Labs.
He, of course, was the founder of Deep
Mind.
I
You lost your mind
Throat.
for a minute.
That was not it. I knew that Deep Throat was wrong. He was the founder of
Very wrong, Leo.
Very wrong. Founder of DeepMind. His Nobel Prize is in chemistry. So Hinton won for physics, because there isn't a Nobel Prize for AI.
Not yet.
But Hassabis won because they came up with DeepMind came up with a protein folding that has been used to, I thought, I don't know, no effect, but apparently some effect in medicine. So David Baker, University of Washington, John Jumper, Google DeepMind, and Demis Hassabis of DeepMind. Hassabis and Jumper developed a powerful computational tool, this is from the Washington Post, that gave researchers the long-sought ability to predict how proteins twist and fold to create complex 3D structures that can block viruses, build muscle, or degrade plastic. And protein folding is, this remember the whole thing where you were getting your computer's idle time and you were donating it to a project, and one of them was folding at home. Remember that? Right. Where you would get all the computers in the world with their idle cycles trying to fold proteins. Well, that's gone away because AI does it easily and quickly. You don't need all those computers. So I'm curious. They got the Nobel Prize, but has AlphaFold generated? I mean, is there a medicine or something I can point to that says it's working? I mean, I know it's making these.
Define working. It was that people undertook this project for a reason,
right?
So that they could, and we got there thanks to this.
Okay. So see,
it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not all generative AI.
That's a good. Okay, there you go. That's a good point. It isn't. This stuff is not generative AI. I mean, I don't know what. To me, it is. It's all anything that generates something with AI. It's generative AI, but
well, so I had a call this morning with the World Economic Forum at Davos.
Oh,
and they because I'm a member of some kind of AI thing, the AI governance thing. So anyway, they said that it's also diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive, and adaptive AI.
Oh,
I'm not sure how you define all of those.
Okay.
But
so I think a lot of times we think of generative AI as chatbots, basically, right? ChatGPT.
Making swimming hippos.
When the Nobel Committee called Geoffrey Hinton, he said he is, quote, worried.
Oh, Jesus.
That the overall consequence of this might be systems more intelligent than us that might eventually take control. But then they said, but knowing that, would you do it all over again? He said, oh, yeah.
The whiny Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'd do it again. I am created chatbot.
Annoyer of worlds.
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. I like that, Paris.
Hopfield echoed his co-laureate's concerns in a video call yesterday afternoon at Princeton University. The worry I have is not AI quite directly, but AI combined with information flow around the globe.
No one's worried about like bad people with AI.
I think that's kind of what he's more worried about is like that maybe deep fakes. I don't know. Hopfield is 91. Hinton is 76. That's usually the case. You don't win a Nobel Prize to your.
Demis is very young, isn't he?
He's pretty young. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, is there's still hope Jeff. That's all. I'm just trying to get
They won't care.
You could get your 4 a.m. phone call.
I just want a MacArthur.
By the way, that's what that play that I really liked that the Washington Post hated. I saw you sneaking in a bad review.
Yeah.
last week. So we were talking about McLean, which I thought was a great movie. It's the Robert Downey Broadway debut play that I saw.
I mean, it's a movie in some ways. He's moving.
And there's a lot of special effects on the stage. It's actually the staging, and the Post did like the staging, but they hated the play itself. I don't know. Did the Times hate it? Did the New Yorker hate it? I haven't seen a review yet.
Oh,
anyway,
I put that in
we
there.
should talk about Megalopolis, which I saw, and I don't know if I hate it or not. It was a movie, an experience, a ride of a lifetime. I spent the whole time thinking about Adam Driver as Leo because he famously voiced an early version of either Driver's character or you said maybe the narrator.
I thought might be the narrator. It was one of those, I walked down the rainy streets and, I thought he was a detective, but maybe it was Adam. Maybe he was an architect.
I mean, that does seem like something that Adam Driver would say in this. It was a bizarre film. I really enjoyed it. There were parts of it that I was like,
but you enjoy a lot of weird
I love the weird movie. This is fun. And there are parts that I was like, this is terrible. Like one of the first things that Adam Driver's character, the plot of this is it's set in New Rome, which is like New York City, but it's Rome, but it's in the future, but it's not. Very confusing. And Adam Driver plays a mad architect named Caesar who's got this vision for a future city that kind of looks like Hudson Yards mixed with that meme of the utopia city that you see, which is an insult.
Is it like Atlas Shrugged a little bit? I mean, when I say I was an architect,
it's like Ayn Rand mixed with Hudson Yards mixed with
that's just hilarious.
Caesar. I don't know. It's not great.
I want to see it just because of the spectacle. By the way, you're lucky you saw it because there's some thought that they will not be sent to streaming. That this is it. You see it in the theater, or you don't see it at all.
I also saw an immersive screening where midway through.
Oh yeah, you told us.
I don't consider a spoiler because this is 30 seconds of the movie, and it does not have consequence. A satellite crashes into New York City. Yeah. Then archival footage of 9/11 is played, which I've since learned was shot when they were filming because they've been filming this movie for so goddamn long that they have never before seen footage of 9/11 in this. God. Then there is a scene of Adam Driver as the architect in a very tiny box on screen at a press conference. Then the house lights go up in the theater and a man walks out in front of the movie theater with a mic, takes notes, and then asks Adam Driver on screen a question. Adam Driver responds, and then he goes away and the lights go
that's so
back down.
immersive.
It was
my
great.
God. Reality is bending.
I know.
That's kind of like going to the Rocky Horror Picture Show and seeing some guy dressed as Frankenfurter.
But that person is now going to say that he was in a Coppola production.
Right. Well, like me, I was in a Coppola.
I mean, like you.
So this is good. Did you we did this before the show. So Megalopolis, Coppola's been working on this for 40 years.
Yes.
And I mentioned that 30 years ago, I was called into Zoetrope. I auditioned for a role in some unknown radio thing that Coppola was doing at Zoetrope and read a part for a couple of nights with other actors in Zoetrope. I later figured out that we were recording some sort of pre-visualization for a movie that Francis was working on, but the movie never came out.
And the other hint that says you're Adam Driver is that you were supposed to sound like Bob Woodward.
I got fired.
Knowing how he sounds, and Bob Woodward sounds like Adam Driver.
Francis grew increasingly agitated. He kept saying, do it more like Bob Woodward. And I had no idea what Bob Woodward sounded like, so I didn't know what this direction meant. So I just tried different accents.
Some of the strangest voice acting and just general acting choices I've ever seen in a movie in this film.
Well, that's what he was trying
there
to
is
get me
one
to do.
where it's a normal scene between Adam Driver and what will become his love interest, and he's talking in a normal way, and then he goes, "So go back to the club." That is fully how he delivers the line.
I can totally see Adam Driver doing that. He does that little vocal tick.
Yeah. But
I
this
have
is
to see
relevant
it.
because you have to see it.
do.
And I also
have to see
heard
it.
from Coppola when someone was asking him in an interview recently, what led you to come back to Megalopolis all these years later? He said some years ago, he had filmed a food tour TV show episode with Anthony Bourdain. I assumed Italy. Where else would he go? But he was watching himself on it, and he was like, "Oh, I look so fat. I hate the way I look." So he signed up for like an exercise camp. And during the whole exercise thing, he was like, "What should I listen to? Might as well listen to the old audio recordings I made for the visualizations of Megalopolis."
That's me.
So I was like, he's listening to Leo.
I wonder if he left my part in and then had Father Guido Sarducci do the rest.
Frankly, given the way that this movie turned out, that would make sense. Yes. It is the most disjointed, confusing experience. There's a whole subplot where Aubrey Plaza is a character named Wow Platinum that is kind of like sexy Jim Cramer. She hosts a financial morning talk news show called The Money Bunny.
Oh, God. Which is the Money Honey reference to that.
Oh, I get it. So he borrowed or raised money like $120 million.
He sold one of his vineyards for it.
He sold a vineyard for $120 million.
Or he leveraged, I think, his vineyard as collateral.
Right. This vineyard, by the way, is just north of me. The Coppola
It's going to be owned by somebody else pretty soon.
Huh.
This is a triggering question for me.
So it's opening weekend. It earned $4 million.
Yeah, no, it's not going to make money. It was not I will probably see it again, but I'm also crazy. I wouldn't say I found it a decent movie watching experience, but it wasn't pleasurable. I was listening to Pop Culture Happy Hour talk about this, and they were trying to decide whether it was a failure or a fiasco. Because a failure is just a failure that is like not fun at all, but a fiasco's got some pizzazz. Like there's something about it. It fails, and this is definitely a fiasco in kind of a fun way.
One of the funniest This American Life episodes ever is called Fiasco, and if you haven't listened to it, it is a series of fiascos, and it's what made This American Life. It's
how long is it, Paris?
2 hours and 18 minutes.
Oh, I thought it might have been a 4 hour.
So I may be wrong.
If it was 4 hours, it might have made more sense.
I see that it is now up for pre-sale on Amazon and iTunes and the various streaming sites. So
I would say it's definitely a movie I'd recommend seeing in theaters if you could. I guess I don't know whether the theaters would be packed. I saw it in a packed giant IMAX theaters, and people were just uproarious. It was sold out.
It would be fun to see that. It
was the immersive one with the guy, so everybody was there to see the guy. But people were laughing their butts off during it because there are some really strange choices in there. At one point, a character is talking about a baby she's about to have to someone, and she's like, "If it's a girl, we'll name her Sunny Hope. If it's a boy, Francis." It's like stuff like that, one after another. Jeff, you were asking a question before?
It's triggering for me to ask this, but now I'm curious. What was the 9/11 footage like?
I feel like it was just kind of like short, like they had like 3 panel shots that were kind of interspersed throughout the film. One of which I believe was like perhaps like the aftermath of 9/11. Like it wasn't, plane crashing into the towers, anything like that. But it was footage that I recognized as, that's 9/11. And then afterwards, I heard that it was never before seen footage from the day because they were filming in downtown Manhattan when that happened.
I am looking at the 6:30 show tonight at our local theater, and looks like I can have the theater all to myself.
Yeah, then maybe watch it at home.
Leo's going to be rushing off to make sure he gets in.
Yeah, I think I'll go. Should I get tickets? I seem sad to see it. Like I'm the only person in the freaking theater.
I would go if you could go. I mean, honestly, if you're there by yourself, then just like know that it's good to laugh. I think that it's kind of a very funny movie to me. But God, it's weird. It's such a weird movie. There's a whole deep fake subplot.
I feel like I would like this movie, to be honest with you. That's what's
it's like a mix between, like, there are parts of the movie that I'm like, oh, this could have been good, but it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It switches between, at one point, Adam Driver does the full Shakespeare to be and not to be monologue.
What?
At another point, a guy does a boner joke. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. But
Talk
I
about trying to
liked it.
get out of writing a few pages of script. I think I have this old Shakespeare stuff I could use.
And it's very funny because like it's kind of set in modern times. So then all the people watching are like, "What's this guy doing?" in like normal English, and they're like, just let him cook."
To be or not to be, that's the question.
Basically.
It just sounds like he was working on it for too long. That like
Yes,
he
it
left too much
sounds like
in. He didn't know how to cut stuff
that's
out.
what he
It was
does.
like, yeah.
I mean, I sat next to him once in San Francisco, and it was when Apocalypse Now was coming out. And I was one of the few people who liked it.
I loved it. It's the greatest.
I love Apocalypse
You know
Now.
what? In hindsight, you're right. At the time, it was panned. In hindsight, it's got to be the greatest war movie.
It's not as good as Apocalypse Now, but it is interesting. I think it's the most interesting movie I've seen.
He's made some terrible movies. There's no doubt about that. But I have huge respect for Francis.
The opening of it is a direct nod to Hudsucker Proxy, which is one of my favorite movies. So I liked that.
So you're a movie fan, a nihilist.
I am.
An optimistic nihilist and a movie fan.
It's true. An optimistic nihilist and a movie fan walk into a bar.
So the truth is, I really liked going to the movies for the popcorn. True. And when the pandemic seemed to die down, it's not died down. It's still there, folks. I know that. But I thought, I haven't had that popcorn in 4 years. And I went to the local theater where they have the incredibly greasy popcorn.
It's terrible.
A. B, a little tiny one, $8.
Well, that's their profit.
I know, but jeez.
I'll make you, when next time you're out here, I'll make you some good movie
I'll bet
style
you make good
popcorn.
popcorn.
I make good popcorn.
Nice.
I do. I have actually official popcorn equipment.
Of course you do.
I have a pot that's exclusively for making popcorn.
Do you make it in your pizza oven? Oh, you don't have a pizza oven anymore.
No, I don't. I don't make it in the pizza oven. I make it on the stovetop, but it's a whirly pop. Now I used the official whirly pops for a while, but they fall apart. I got myself a really nice stainless steel glass Metal Gear whirly pop that does mwah. And then I use Amish country popcorn. It's very, very good. Ooh. And then I put the salt in the whirly pop so that, and I use ghee, not butter, not oil, but ghee to pop the popcorn. And then, of course, melted butter on top if you really want to go crazy. But another thing you can do is put the salt in with some sugar and do the whirly pop. And then you got
any bananas in this?
Or put bananas.
Bananas?
Top with the bananas and you got yourself
popped bananas. I think it's a thing. There was a lot of Google news this week.
Yeah, let's take a break and then come back and actually do some stuff.
I just want to say for the record, since we did no news last week.
We're doing we've done a lot of news.
No
We've done all right.
Last week? It was an oops all arguments episode.
Oh yeah, that's all it was. There was no news. We hit like
terrible.
2 headlines.
We started to play Scooter X's Notebook LM changelog, and it was so awful we had to stop.
We got into a fight about Taylor Lorenz.
By the way, I still can't go to her site. It says it's malware. I don't know why, but I have
weird.
Our security software is blocking it.
Weird.
Yeah, that's kind of all we did.
Anyway, let's not think about the past. Let's be optimistic nihilists, shall we? More to come with This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, Paris Martineau, and your host, Adam Driver. Our show today brought to you by Veeam. Veeam. Now, Veeam is a really important product as far as I'm concerned. Because if everybody in the world would just use Veeam, there would be no ransomware. There would be no data breaches. There would be no problems. Your data as a company is the most important thing you got. Without your data, your customers' trust turns to digital dust. That's why Veeam's data protection and, underline this, ransomware recovery ensures that you can secure and restore your enterprise data wherever and whenever you need it, no matter what happens. Doesn't that sound good? Veeam is the #1 global market leader in data resilience, trusted by, this number blows me away, 77% of the Fortune 500. You got to wonder about that other 23%. 77% of the Fortune 500 uses Veeam to keep their businesses running when digital disruptions like ransomware strike. That's because Veeam lets you back up and recover your data instantly across the entire cloud ecosystem, no matter where your data lives. With Veeam, you can proactively detect malicious activity, stop it cold before you need it. You can also remove the guesswork, and this is so important, by automating your recovery plans and policies. You have recovery plans and policies, right? Well, you got to keep them up to date. With Veeam, you'll get real-time support from ransomware recovery experts, so you're never on your own. Data is the lifeblood of your business. Get data resilient with Veeam. Veeam.com to learn more. Veeam.com. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Google, and of course, you support us by using that site. Veeam.com. Thank you, Veeam. I do have some other stories, but they're not yet Google stories, but I'll get to them.
One day.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about last week, Ed Zitron would not talk about it, is the kerfuffle between Automatic and WordPress engine. And of course, that was last week was the day. And the reason he couldn't talk about it is he represents Automatic.
Oh, I thought he was just like too boring.
I don't want to talk about that. Maybe
his
too boring, but he
his
also
lips were crazy glued. Like,
can't say a word. We had somebody on the show Sunday who used to work for Automatic, has a lot of respect, I think, for Matt Mullenweg, as I do, but it's a complicated story. Great piece from Geoffrey Zeldman. I'll tell you what, I have a lot of respect for Zeldman. He is one of the guys behind so many web standards that we use. He's one of the old school guys. He works at Automatic. He decided to stay there or decided to take a job there after.
Should you give, if I may, the background here of what everybody was offered?
It was like 6 months.
6 months or
30,000, whichever is larger.
Whichever is greater.
To do what? To leave?
To leave because people were disagreeing with what Matt had. This is background. I think it matters. Matt had come out with his jihad against the other company,
WP Engine,
and some disagreed with him and his tone. And Matt said, "Okay," and it wasn't. It was. I think it was a uniquely Matt thing to do, to say, I don't want to have you feel like you're working in a company where you're going to disagree. So I'm going to make a very generous offer. Anybody who wants to leave can leave and get 6 months salary. And
did that include 6 months health insurance?
Yes. In fact, that's why Zeldman said, I really thought about this because he has creditors.
He had hired somewhere else.
Yeah. He said 6 months salary in advance would have wiped the slate clean on medical debts and financial obligations incurred by the closing of my publishing businesses and my conference.
So 159 people took the offer.
A lot of people.
8.4% of the company.
Well,
the other 91.6% gave up $126 million of potential severance to stay. 63.5% were male. 53% were in the U.S. By division, it affected our ecosystem WordPress areas the most. 79.2% of those who took it were in our ecosystem business, compared with 18.2% from Cosmos, our apps like Pocket Casts.
Yeah.
18 people made over 200,000 K a year. One person started 2 days before the deadline.
Wow.
4 people then took it and changed their minds. Okay, so that's the background here of what Zeldman faced as a choice.
And I got, again, I say, I really respect Zeldman. He is a legend and has been around forever. He says, even as I made myself think about what 6 months salary and a lump sum could do to help my family and calm my creditors, I knew in my soul there was no way I'd leave this company. I respect the courage and conviction of my departed colleagues. I already missed them. I feel the departure is a personal loss. My grief is real. The sadness is like a cold fog on a dark, wet night. But I stayed because I believe in the work Automatic is doing. I believe in the open web and owning your content. I've devoted nearly 3 decades of work to this cause. And when I chose to move in-house, I knew there was only one house that would suit me, Automatic. Now, he refers to a post by the guy who created Drupal, Dries Boutart, called Solving the Maker-Taker Problem. And Dries, Drupal, which is what we use as our content management system, is definitely a competitor with WordPress. But Dries says, I'm not going to take a position on the WordPress thing. But it's important to understand that every open source project has people who contribute to it and people who take from it. And it's as if, and Zelman says it this way, he says, it's as if you go to dinner with Paris, and Jeff and I go to dinner every week for years, and I always pay and nobody else offers to pay. At some point, you got to say something about it. So he wrote a good...
Can you summarize the core of the debate again for me? What are people upset about?
I actually, I don't know. I mean, I do kind of know. So remember that Matt Mullenweg wrote WordPress in the beginning, and it became very, very widely used. He gives it away at WordPress.org. You can download it. You can install it yourself. He also started a company, WordPress.com. It's called Automatic, and that is a managed version of WordPress. So you pay somebody to run your website and keep it up to date and all that stuff. 43% of the web now uses WordPress.
It's amazing.
It's a huge enterprise,
and
they
by
were
its
for a long time a
openness,
sponsor.
it defeated movable type.
That's right, because it was open. And because it's free as an open source project.
But there's something interesting there.
Hello, Gizmo. Are you interested in this open source maker taker problem? Do you ever pay for dinner, Gizmo? Do you?
Gizmo never pays for dinner. She believes in saving her capital always.
Her capital.
Yeah, exactly.
So movable type, this is relevant, I think, to where you're going. Movable type tried to disadvantage licensors of its software, which meant that it was put itself in a conflict of interest. But WordPress didn't do that and said anybody can compete, it's open source, we mean it, it's open source, and thus it won. However, WP Engine was not acting appropriately according to Matt, right?
Yeah, I mean, they competed directly with WordPress.com by offering a simple managed WordPress installation. But and I'm not. I don't.
They didn't
I don't
contribute to the open source.
I don't want to misstate Matt's objections or even take a side in this. But what Droyce says, and I think is right, is that the problem with open source software is you have this. He calls it the maker-taker challenge, which you have people who are very generously giving their software away with a kind of unwritten expectation that people who use it, especially companies, and this is a big problem, who use this software will contribute back, not necessarily financially, could be financially, but also maybe in kind with contributions to the software, that kind of thing. And there is this imbalance, and we know that there's this imbalance between people who make and give away their software, people like Linus Torvalds, and then big companies that really just use it because they don't have to pay for it and don't contribute back. Dries says, addressing the maker-taker challenge is essential for the long-term sustainability of open source projects. And I agree. I think Matt maybe lost his head a little bit on this. You know, it really became personal for him. And so
I wonder
maybe
what caused what flipped the switch for him? Because this seems like a very dramatic stance to be taking.
I know, and I feel like I owe you. I probably shouldn't have brought this up without being more willing to have an opinion on it. I feel a little bit like
not
Ed.
Have an opinion.
I feel like a little like Ed because I really know and love Matt, and I've known him since the beginning, and we've had him on the show. And he really is a very strong
Matt defends
advocate.
Open source. He's an advocate. That's why I tend to trust him.
Yeah.
It's all right to be biased on something and admit your bias.
Yeah.
This is now, I
be
decree,
perfectly neutral on everything.
to be known as
There's
the
actually no
Trenton
such
Challenge in the Discord. Have you ever seen this?
What?
The what challenge?
The Trenton Challenge. The Trenton's Bridge. The stupidest slogan for a town anywhere. Do you see it? On the
Trenton
big bridge
makes
going into
the
Trenton.
world takes.
Just so bitter, isn't it? Just like, okay, be that way, world.
So in mid-September, this is from TechCrunch, Mullenweg wrote a blog post calling WP Engine, quote, a cancer to WordPress.
A little strong.
Yeah. He criticized WP Engine for disabling the ability for users to see and track the revision history for every post. This is a feature of WordPress. They disabled it. Mullenweg says that's the core of the user promise of protecting your data. WP Engine turns it off, he says, to save money. He also called out WP Engine's investor, Silver Lake, a private equity company, and said they don't contribute sufficiently to the open source project, and that WP Engine's use of the WP brand has confused customers into thinking it's part of WordPress, which I think probably some people do. It's not, I think to somebody who's not paying attention, it's really not clear what WordPress.org, WordPress.com, WP Engine, Automatic, who are they? Where are they related?
He says something like if you gave $10 to WordPress, you'd be doing 100 times more than WP Engine has given to the open source project.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. WP Engine, of course, sent a cease and desist letter. Then Automatic sent a cease and desist to them. And, then the battle goes on. Again, my sympathies are with Matt. I think this is a hot button for him, and he's maybe overreacting a little bit, but I also don't blame him because it is a problem. And there you have it. Okay. Because we wanted to kind of cover it on last week, but Ed's recusal made it difficult to talk too much.
I bet he left a big... him being silent leaves a big void in the room.
Yeah, boy, when you got him throughout the show and then suddenly... It really, you hear it. All right. You said there's a lot of
Google News.
Tons of Google News.
Oh, my God. I missed all of this. I've just scrolled down.
Just to give it a quick digest here, a judge...
Well, wait a minute. The most important one is we're going to break up Google, says the Department of Justice. Right?
That's what the DOJ says. Well, the DOJ says we have a menu of punishments for Google. Your Honor, take your pick. And so it goes up to breaking up, but that's not the only remedy. There's other remedies. One is they can't pay anybody for search, which means that Mozilla and Apple are badly hurt. Another is that they
by the way, that saves Google $40 billion.
Fortune.
It doesn't hurt Google.
Makes no sense. Another is that they have to advertise that you have choices in search.
That's dumb.
That's dumb. Another is to break up, though it doesn't say exactly how. And so I have Google's response here at line...
DOJ's radical and sweeping proposals risk hurting consumers, businesses, and developers. Well, of course, Google's going to say that.
Of course they will, yes. But not wrong.
And you know what? With some merit. I mean, it's not like... It isn't... You start knocking at the supports of this house of cards, and who knows what's going to happen.
And do you end up with 5 more valuable companies that are, because the thing is, consumers will probably still pick Google search.
Right. But remember, the DOJ was going to break up Microsoft, and we talked about this earlier on Windows Weekly. And really, the upshot of that would have been breaking up Microsoft into 2 companies, operating systems and Office. Would have been 2 more valuable companies. Yeah. Shareholders would have gotten shares in both. Everybody wins. So, yeah, I would love to see Google be forced to give up YouTube. I think that's a little much. I think the fact that Google controls all ends of the advertising transaction is clearly problematic.
But what if YouTube ends up with an Elon Musk? What if it ends up with Satoshi saying, I know what I'm going to spend my $60 billion on. I'm going to buy YouTube and do crazy things, right?
Yeah.
You be careful of the apple cart.
That's a good point.
You upset.
That's a good point.
And then the major papers, the Financial Times said, this is a gift link, the Google breakup reads like an antitrust fan fiction.
Right.
And the New York Times said, this is going to be really hard to do. And at the same time, I love this. The story comes in here. A Wall Street Journal story from just the other day said, Google's grip on search slips as TikTok and AI startup mount challenge. So it's just like Microsoft. The timing is
It's hard because these things move glacially slowly, and the technology industry moves.
And this is what's clear is Google is going to fight full on. They're going to go through every possible court. This is going to take years upon years upon years.
Well, I mean, they have to. It's like for their shareholders, they have a fiduciary responsibility too.
But they're going to spend money now. One of the stories, I think it was the Times story, said they're going to spend money now at a current dollar, and it's worth it because in the future, by the time anything ever happens, the value of what they spent will have gone down with inflation. So it's also in their physical sense to just fight as long as possible.
So it's funny because Paul Thurrott said, I really want to know what Jeff Jarvis thinks about this.
Wow. Paul Thurrott. By the way, Paul, who I'm bitter at, he was in Berlin for more than a week. I told him like 5 times on Facebook, you have to go to the food floor in Calloway. He never went, and he ate at the same bloody restaurant nearby like 5 times, having stupid currywurst every single time.
I think he actually loved currywurst. He talked a lot about it.
Every single time he had currywurst. Jeez, it's awful. I love it. Currywurst is awful, but anyway.
Michael, Lisa's son, is going to Germany with his German tutor and his dad in a week.
Wow.
And they will be going all over Germany, including Berlin. Would you please text me or send me or email me the name of that place, and I will make sure that they go there.
Yeah, Kaufhaus des Westens.
They should go to the film museum.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem. Anyway, Uli is a native. His German tutor is native. By the way, Michael speaks incredibly fluent German. Uli said he could teach German if he wants. This kid's 21, and for some reason decided he wanted to learn German, and quickly outpaced what the school could offer. So he has this native speaker tutor who's fantastic. So I can't wait because he's going to go to Germany, and suddenly the language he's been learning is going to come alive.
Yeah, I went finally. Mein Deutsch ist leider sehr schlecht. I went finally when I was 24, and I said, why didn't I pay attention?
Yeah. It's a fascinating culture and country. And
anyway, I forget where I did that to us, didn't I?
No, but do bring us, send me the Klaushafen Staffen.
Kaufhaus des Westens, Calloway.
Okay, the other story. Oh, but no, before I do that, I forgot. Paul Thurrott wanted to know, what does Jeff think? What should happen?
I think that what this exposes is the inadequacy of antitrust doctrine today, because and we've talked about this many times. If you under U.S., it's about consumer harm. Consumers are not harmed; they are helped in each one of these cases. I do think the one place where Google is vulnerable, which is not this case, because this is the search case, is in the ad case.
Yeah, it's
terrible. I think I disclosed on this show. I got a call from lawyers who, I don't know who they could have been for, wanting to see if I wanted to be an expert, if I was qualified to be an expert witness. And as the talk went on, it was about advertising and antitrust and this and that. And I said, well, you might want to know what I said in my new book, The Web We Weave, on sale now, that it's the one area where Google is most vulnerable in antitrust. And they said, okay, thanks, never mind. We don't really want you.
I agree with you because they own the entire chain. They buy, they sell, they make the market.
But even there's an argument that says that the market is more efficient because they're there doing all that. But it is the area where I think they're vulnerable. Search, it's ridiculous. It's a red herring. Their shopping, which the Europeans go after, is ridiculous. And
Jeff,
consumers benefit.
How do you feel about the fact that Google lawyers had you pegged as an ally of Google?
Because I wrote a book called What Would Google Do?
Yeah. I mean, you think it's just as simple as that?
And I'm on a podcast.
He's on a podcast called This Week in Google. You must love Google, right?
But I assume they probably put some other, man hours in there.
I've said it on the show. I've said it on the show often. I think that the case in other areas is BS, but in that area, I actually agree with the government investigating. I think that's the right.
It's hard to know what to do, though, isn't it? Because you don't want to upset the apple cart.
Yeah,
it's really hard to know what to do.
Screw the apple cart.
And
Who needs apples on the cart?
You want to do it?
But it also may be that
they came in and tipped over everyone else's apple cart. So why can't we tip their apple cart?
I would also say that your point earlier about consumer harm, I don't know. I think there should be an asterisk there. It's like, yeah, perhaps consumers aren't being harmed under the specific way the U.S. justice system defines consumer harm currently. Some people argue that consumers are being harmed because monopolistic forces deprive them of choices that would otherwise be available if it wasn't such a concentrated market.
Would you want a European model where the antitrust is more about too big is too big?
Yeah, or you could say Google, the way Google has manipulated the ad market makes it very difficult for blogs to succeed and for podcasts like ours to succeed. And they are very dominant in advertising. Between Google and Facebook, pretty much all digital advertising, something like 80 or 90% of it goes through Google and Facebook. Their dominance means, there's no competitive market for advertising. That's not good for us.
Yeah, so I think advertising is where they're vulnerable. But the search case here, I think, is ridiculous.
Yeah, because in the long run, something else is going to come along like TikTok, and it's not going to matter anyway.
Yeah. So the other,
and they're actually ruining their own search. Frankly,
well, I think that the AI is ruining the web, which in turn makes search impossible to do. And
do a search though, and the first half of the page is nonsense. Not AI nonsense. Google provided nonsense, Well,
they're also going to add ads into their AI answer, and that's going to piss off the publishers who say, well, now you're making money on the stuff that you're training on from us. They're not too clever in some cases.
Wait, so isn't this all part of it? Like you're saying, like the search is not a good vector of attack, but like you're saying, their search is getting so bad now, but there's no alternative because no one has been able to compete with Google.
Well, there is
disagreeing about who's to fault for that, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else.
Yeah, he thinks it's the search reflects the bad searches reflects the bad content.
If you want to go after Google, pick your best case, and your best case is advertising, not search. That's what I'm saying. Now, whether you should go after Google is a different question, but I'm just saying that if we buy that. However, I think the other important case is in the App Store, which I think is going to hurt consumers. You saw that?
Yes. So this is the other judge ordered Google to pry open. This is Shira Ovid writing in the Washington Post. Its Android App Store to competition on Monday. James Donato, this is a victory for Epic Games. Remember, Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, sued both Google and Apple. They didn't do very well in the Apple case, but it looks like they've got pretty much a complete victory in the Google case. They won a jury verdict last year that said the Play Store was an illegal monopoly. Epic wanted to, the problem for Epic was this 30% VIG that Google and Apple take of sales. Epic wanted to sell in-game goods and products without giving money to Apple or Google. I'm not sure why they lost in the Apple case. I think because there wasn't a jury. It was a judge. And in the Google case, it was a jury verdict. Donato. So after the jury ruled last year that the store was a monopoly, Judge Donato was tasked with mandating changes to the App Store to fix the behavior. He says that Google has to allow other app stores in the Google Play Store. The judge required Google to remove roadblocks that largely discourage businesses from making Android apps available to download from their websites. Or, by the way, nobody wants to do that. Fortnite did it for a while. Oh, you don't have, because Android does not make you do it from the Play Store. There is a security checkbox you can check, and then you can go to the Fortnite site and download it from there if you want. Side loading, they call that. The judge says you got to take away that checkbox, that roadblock, or allow digital storefronts not controlled by Google. So somebody could download an Epic, this is what Epic really wants, download on their Android phone from the Google Play Store, an Epic store where you could buy stuff for Fortnite, buy other games from Epic. Apple absolutely does not allow this, except they're being required to now in Europe, and they're dragging their feet, putting up a whole bunch of roadblocks, which the EU is not too happy about. I imagine Google will face the same thing. Donato also said app makers can offer people more options to pay for digital purchases, like Disney Plus streaming or extra lives in Candy Crush. Google right now requires in-app purchases to go through its own payment system, and that's when they get their 30%. This is a very big deal. This is what,
because it's also about the security of what you can put on your phone. Now, is that worth the 30% VIG or not? That's a debate to have. But it is a service to users that Google and Apple each.
Well, that's what they say. I don't think it is. I don't think it does provide a lot of security. They would. That's what the argument for them it is. For Apple, it is a massive windfall. It is a big part of their revenue. I imagine it is for Google as well. They would like to. Really, the real question is: does the maker of your smartphone have the right to control everything on that smartphone?
Right, which is a very
Absolutely not. Like,
I would think not. You own it. It's like saying, oh, if you buy a car from Audi, you have to use Shell gasoline and no other.
Or like today, if they implemented a 30% VIG on your Mac software, everyone would, there would be an uproar. There would be an uproar.
Well,
Yeah, it is fascinating to me that we've gotten to this position with smartphones, yet no other platform. You know,
I would submit it's because these companies learned from their desktops and the smartphone came along, remember, much later, starting in 2007. And they said, we're not going to make the same mistake. I think there was you're right, Jeff, a legitimate security argument. They said, smartphones are going to be a security target and we really got to lock them down.
Right. And that tied with the VIG makes their argument less valid.
And we make some money too on it. That's okay. Right. But I do think that there's a security issue on desktops as well. I mean, that doesn't go away. I can download.
It's something that's been there and that we're all
we're just used to it.
We all know it. Yeah.
Unless you have a Chromebook, which is controlled by Google and means that I have none of these problems.
That's true. That's a good point. So that's the real question. That's what the jury has decided. But the question is, does the maker of a smartphone have the right to control what's on that smartphone? For your benefit, and I agree with you, Benito, absolutely not.
So
anybody
there was a
disagree?
lot of Google news. We got through the Google news.
No. So what's weird is that Google now has to do this, but Apple doesn't.
That is interesting.
That's very weird.
Different jurisdictions, different courts. And most importantly, one was a jury decision and one was a judge's decision. And I think the judge probably is more sophisticated than the jury. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
But does that leave any, we need Kathy here. Does that leave any cause in itself for appeal to say that, equal treatment?
I think Epic has decided not. No, Epic and Apple both went to the Supreme Court, but with just smaller issues in the overall case. So I think Epic's decided that they're going to live with that one. They're very happy about the Google.
What about Google saying we shouldn't be subject to this if Apple isn't?
Oh, the other way around.
Yeah. Is that a basis for appeal?
I don't think so. It's like saying, hey, that cop was driving 80 miles an hour in a 60-mile zone. Why can't I?
Like, tough luck.
You're out of luck.
Because you don't have qualified immunity.
Oh, yeah, that. I forgot about that. Neither does Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Yeah. More and more, I used to, on these shows, be willing to express ill-formed, uneducated opinions, hot takes.
Devil's advocate. You saw that as your role.
And I kind of lost that. I don't know, maybe because I'm getting older or because I'm losing my marbles. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Ed's kind of
time for crazy takes on AI.
I don't even that I've kind of given up on, haven't I? I'm just kind of I should be more like Ed, like certain about everything.
I mean, it seems exhausting to do that.
It is.
I'm exhausted anyway, so I think it's
I was thinking about this the other day. Is like, I used to be so into tweeting, to posting, was always coming up with a hot take on something, always out there looking for content. And it really was good for, follower counts and things like that. But that's too exhausting. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Do you think maybe we burned out on that? I mean, certainly I look at Twitter now and I go, these people are just performing. They're performing.
It's absolutely all performing, and the performance is exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. And And to whose benefit?
I see it as the high school cafeteria of the internet.
Yeah.
We outgrew it.
No, it's definitely just, a peacock fluffing up its feathers.
Which can be a beautiful sight. I miss our peacock. Yeah,
So you see someone make a really
also
good
loud.
post and you're like, that's a beautiful sight, but also to what end?
Yeah. Although I have to say, I go to Blue Sky and I see Drill trying really hard, and it just doesn't work on other places.
I think Drill works no matter where he goes.
Really? You like Drill's posts on Blue Sky?
Yeah, I think they're good.
Okay. I just maybe I'm.
I just like the fact that Blue Sky, when they were coming into existence, hiring their first engineers, employees, every single person got a paperback copy of Drill's tweets, and they reserved Drill's handle on Blue Sky.
They cared.
And were so surprised when he tried to sign up that he was like, "Why can't I get my handle?" And they were like, "Oh no, we've been saving it for you, Mr. Drill."
Mr.
So
Drill, welcome.
I'm happy whenever.
So I have started. Tell me if I'm wrong doing this. I got a new program for iOS called Croissant, which is a cross-posting app and has a nice little croissant icon. It doesn't post to Twitter. Don't get your hopes up. It's Blue Sky, Threads, and Mastodon. But I've been using it because those are the three places that, at least for promotional posts, like buy my son's book, Salt Hank, A 5-Napkin Situation, available in bookstores everywhere. And when I post that, I want to post it to Mastodon.
Is
I
it
kind
only
of would
phone,
like to
or
have
is
it.
there also a web version?
No, you have to have it on an iPhone, I think. It's nice. Every time you refresh it, it gives you a new prompt. Like right now it says, put your words in me. Let me see what it says the next time.
that's twee.
Why
Hello,
is that
world.
nice? That's just dumb.
No, I like it. So much is happening.
It's
just
very
different.
2010 internet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a 2010 internet guy. How about this one? Drop some truth. You
Oh,
can't see it.
jeez. Okay, that you lost me.
Social.
It's playful.
You should say truth doesn't exist.
Right.
Impartiality is a nonsense.
Okay,
all made up.
Friedrich. Let's see. All right. I am, as I said, I am jaded, bored, and we're almost out of time. So let's each of you
Because
pick
you got to go
something.
see the movie tonight.
I got
Alone in
tickets
the
for the I sit all alone.
We need to take a one pause.
Yeah, I'm going to do a pause before the picks of the week. Don't worry, Benito. I'm going to take care of your revenue generating opportunities. I don't think I'm going to go see Megalopolis in the theater. I think that sounds unbearably sad.
I
Eating
mean,
my
yeah, it
little
would be
stale
sad if you're the only
popcorn,
person
sitting
there.
all by myself.
Also, yeah, I mean, I only really like seeing movies in the theater if I go to one of the theaters that are near me that have good popcorn.
That have
and good food
tacos
and
Yeah.
alcohol.
and alcohol, baby. Actually, our theater tried that. The problem
I
is,
would recommend being a little inebriated for Megalopolis. It's
Nobody
definitely not a
goes to the
sober
movies.
movie.
especially in the suburbs. Maybe
Did you hear what
you New Yorkers do, but
Kamala
Brooklynites.
said to Howard Stern about going to the Dome in Vegas.
Know what?
Oh,
And so she took Doug there as a surprise when they were in Vegas. And she said, definitely do not go in there in an altered state.
Wow.
Said, you mean like high? And she said, yeah, don't. Which is, I love, because that's our, one I hope, future president saying, yeah, I've been there.
Wow.
Not just that I inhaled accidentally.
I feel like I want to hear less from our candidates, not more.
yeah.
I think, can we just
We all
vote
should
and get
know
this
less
damn
about
thing
each other.
over with? I'm so sick of this. Pick a story, any story.
Paris?
Caroline
NYC.
Calloway announced that she's not she lives in Sarasota at a beachfront property and is not evacuating for the hurricane.
Oh.
Is she doing a live?
Who is
did a-
Caroline Calloway when
She
she's
is
at home?
a influencer who became famous over the past 7 or 8 years. I think there was originally some New York Magazine
She's not the
article about her.
Haktua girl, is she?
No, she's not the Haktua girl. She looks similar. She was, I think, well known for writing
That's all you did.
really long Instagram captions, and then became known as kind of a prolific scammer. She did a bunch of low key and medium scams. One of the most famous of which, I don't know if this really counts as a scam, is she had an apartment in New York City that she really poorly painted. She painted around a bunch of piles of clothing on her floor and like half painted them, basically trashed the apartment, never paid rent on it for like a year or two, and then got evicted, and now lives in Florida.
Wow.
But
And
she's been
apparently
posting-
is a fan of wax lips. Look at that picture.
Yes, is apparently a fan of wax lips. So she announced on
kinda
Twitter and
hurts.
Instagram yesterday that she's staying put in Sarasota where Hurricane Milton is heading. And everyone was like, is this a bit? What's going on? She did an interview with New York Mag where she's like, no, I'm just staying and I think I'm going to be fine. I'm on the 3rd floor of a building that's rated as hurricane safe. So
she's
we'll be all
probably
right.
So somebody
know.
tweeted, her dying in a hurricane would be the perfect ending to her narrative.
Oh, jeez.
A little dark.
A little dark. So, folks, don't stick it out. Is it too late, though? It might be too
right
late.
now
Way too
it's
late.
too late. But yeah, right now, maybe follow the advice of local authorities
Yes.
in Tampa and nearby areas,
Yes.
which is if
Which you
you've
haven't
decided to
done if
stay.
you're still there.
If
right?
you've decided to stay, they say get a permanent marker and write your name, date of birth,
On your
and the
forehead?
contact for your next of kin on your
Jesus.
arms or legs, so that they can identify.
You're
your
kidding.
body. Yeah.
Nope.
No, that's the actual guidance.
That's pretty grim. That's dark
Yeah.
as hell.
It's very- it's dark
Please
as
use an
hell.
indelible marker and write your name on your arm so we know who to call.
'Cause I mean, part of the issue in some of these areas is when it is that devastating of a forecast, emergency service providers are also evacuating.
Right. They aren't
So
going to
there's
be back
no
for
one
a
to
while.
come get you until things have calmed down.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday. The other side of the story is there's looting, and people are afraid if they evacuate, looters will come in. On the other hand,
Well-
wouldn't you rather lose your stuff than your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, those looters, let's say if there are looters in some place like where the hurricane's going to have a direct hit, those looters probably aren't going to get very far with your things
Yeah.
before they are hit by a hurricane.
They're not looting your things. They're looting the supermarket for food because they can't leave.
That's what I would
Yeah.
think, really. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
also,
it sounds
I
like
mean,
another
as
more of
someone who
that
grew up in
racist
Florida,
nonsense. Yeah.
My family and stuff are fine, but it's been really dismaying to see the constant, I feel like refrain you hear from Floridians during hurricanes. Oh, we were fine during Ian or something else, so we're going to be fine now. This hurricane's a big deal. It's going to be worse than Ian.
It only
and
takes
for-
one to wipe you out, man.
Yep.
And for a
One.
lot of the places like Sarasota where Calloway is and things like that, the notable difference is it's going to be hitting kind of the north of them. And Floridians know the south and southeastern part of the hurricane is the most dangerous because that's going to result in huge storm surge, which is really what a lot of the
That's the
devastation
real
is going to
threat
come
is
from.
the rising sea level.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so that's my uplifting story for the day.
And like none of the news ever brings up climate change when they report on this hurricane. No one
Of
says it.
course.
No one says it.
It's just going to become very obvious.
And I mean, for anybody
not
out there
already.
who's poo-pooing us for bringing this up, it is basic facts. I mean, the reason why you end up getting intensified storms like this, and the reason why this storm in particular, I believe they said explosively intensified, is because hurricanes come from heated water in the Gulf. And the water
is
has been
very
getting
hot now.
hotter. It's unusually hot right now.
Yep.
And that's what's been producing this mega storm so quick on the heels
But
of the last
it's
storm.
hot because of Jewish space lasers, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, just checking. You know, this is one I don't want to be right about. I just want us to
I
do
mean, I'd
something
love
about
to
it.
just be over cautious and have everybody be fine. But seeing what we saw with Helene recently seems
my
unlikely.
God. I feel for everybody, and stay safe, folks. Really, we have a lot of listeners who lost power, lost internet in North Carolina. I was hearing from them. They were, some of them were able to watch over other systems. I mean, it's just
And something that's
terrible.
worth noting for listeners who could be impacted by this, or know someone who could be impacted by this, if you have an iPhone, or they do, the newest iOS update has a feature that could be really useful in this, which is if you've updated the latest iOS, if you're in an area without cell service, as people often are after this, you can send text via satellite. And I believe in the wake of Hurricane Helene, people in kind of the North Carolina impacted areas were able to use the feature without any charge. But they were able to send texts to loved ones saying, I'm all right, or I need help.
Kind of amazing. Really?
How could they do it without,
I don't know. Keep that in
charge?
mind.
Satellite. The newer iPhones support satellite texting.
Right, but how can you do that with no electricity? You have no screen.
Well, if your phone's dead, it won't work.
If your phone's dead, it won't work. But a thing a lot of people do in hurricanes, you keep your phone off until you need it.
Right.
Right. Yeah, the Wall Street Journal story I have in the rundown there at the top of the and 114 has a kind of animation of what it looks like.
Pixels will do it. Some Pixels will also
You have to stand there and point it at the satellite, and it guides you to do so, and then says, okay, you're in.
Right.
You have to do outside, not under trees. Clouds are okay.
Paris, have you ever been through a big hurricane? Sounds like you know a lot about them. No?
I mean, there were hurricanes a lot growing up, but we
Nothing
never
like
experienced
this.
much devastation in comparison to this.
I have.
Luckily,
They were called
growing up-
typhoons where I'm from.
Typhoons in the Philippines, yeah.
So yeah,
So you have, Benito?
many times. Yeah. I mean,
Terrifying.
It's old hat to me, but these storms are a little stronger than what we were going through. We went through seasonal monsoon and things like that,
Right.
and there were typhoons, but not like Cat 5. No, not like this.
Yeah, I feel like we had like Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, but in most cases, power came on after a couple days. And it was the only impact to me was like having to spend days as a child picking up down trees and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's quite sad what's about to happen.
Yep.
Our thoughts, I want to say thoughts and prayers go out to you,
we
but
can't do that anymore.
I really, we stay safe if you can. All right, let's take a final break, and then we'll get your picks of the week as we wrap things up on this week in Google. Pick of the week time. I like to start with Paris because Paris always has.
She always has the good stuff.
I have kind of another silly pick. I was trying to think today of what I want to do for my Halloween costume. I was trying to remember all the things that had happened in 2024. And then I remember that there's a woman I follow on Twitter, I think Paige Skinner is her name, that has been keeping this Google Doc where she just almost every single day for the full year has been just jotting down what's happened, what's been happening in popular culture. And it's a real delight to look through.
It's not always big news either, right?
It's not always big news. January
Selena
25th.
Gomez says she told Taylor Swift about her friends hooking up at Golden Globes. Could be.
Biden
That was January 9th.
Media layoffs in the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. There are some just ones in these that are really funny, like the cut $50,000 scam article, or
is this going to be the
Willy
new
Wonka
tweeting?
Glasgow
Like,
experience.
don't tweet, create Google Sheets that you then tweet.
February 25, there's a hole.
Oh, nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, no, as the year goes on, it's clear that this person is living their life and kind of forgets to do it sometimes.
A lot of TikTok in here. A lot of
It's
TikTok.
Really an interesting mix of things.
I'm going to save this for, we do year-end shows on this show and on Twit and MacBreak. I got to save this, and we can just go through it. May 8th.
It doesn't really have
Worm
that
ate
much of...
RFK's brain. May 9th.
Yeah.
Hailey Bieber pregnant. May 10th. Northern Lights in the U.S. Wow.
There you go. July 25th, JD Vance couch.
That story kind of went away, didn't it? It kind of drifted off into the
August 4th, RFK
It did its
Jr. jumped a
job.
bear in Central Park.
September 19th, Tim Robinson, Nude Africa, Olivia Nuzzi and RFK Affair, Diddy on Suicide Watch. Wow, that was a dark day. Wow.
Yeah, it really will just, a lot of
Bowen
things in
Yang
here you
parodies
don't-
Chapel Roan and Mu Dang. Yeah, she's getting busy, isn't she? It's like
Yeah.
kind of
But
blank
it's good to
here.
see. It's good to see that she has
I mean, it's good. It would be a little sad if it was still going on in full. Let me see. February 21st, Biden dog commander has bitten 24, says Secret Service.
Yeah, that was a big story that kind of nobody talks
All right,
about anymore.
Paris, if I may, I think I have the help for you for Halloween,
All right.
because we have a story here from Tom's Guide about a
Right
woman
now I'm
who
thinking of
used-
being the RFK brainworm.
Oh, that would be
I
good.
like that. Or no, I think you should be the bear.
So you still do a Halloween costume even though you don't work in an office? Oh, you do work in an office.
I do work in an office.
Okay.
I don't know if wearing it to the office would be the highlight for me. I have a pretty popping neighborhood for Halloween, so I'd wear it around there.
You just kind of walk around the block.
Parties.
Oh.
Yeah. I was the Ocean Gate submersible last year, and groups of children were oohing and awing and stopping me for photos.
So you made a giant bean that you wore.
Do we have a photo of that?
Did it explode periodically? Did periodically you just go down, flatten?
I've got the part that I had an Ocean Gate hat.
Oh, so you were just flattened. This was the post.
Oh, you were flat.
That was the front of it. You can kind of see the guys in there.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
they're not the actual guys. I wasn't that dark. And then I had an Ocean Gate hat on. I don't know.
Oh, that's fun. Good. I like it. So you like to do topical costumes.
I like to do a topical, ideally something that's not a person. I was the Ever Given container ship in the Suez Canal one year.
That's good. That's good. I like that. The one that got stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amanda Caswell at Tom's Guide went to meta.ai, and perhaps you can do this for Paris, Leo.
Oh.
And asked what she should be for Halloween. And she says, why didn't I think of that sooner?
So what did she get? She,
I hate this. I hate this so much. Okay. This sucks. Meta suggests create a colorful costume with a pinata-inspired design.
Pinata.
You can use cardboard, felt, or even balloons to create the pinata shape. Meta AI suggests dress up a vintage suitcase with a fun twist. You can use cardboard or foam to create the suitcase shape and add some travel stickers. To be clear, the AI is suggesting I go as a suitcase, not a time traveler with a suitcase.
Hey, Meta, can you make some Halloween costume suggestions for me? I wish I could. Witch? Vampire? Would you like more ideas? That's terrible.
Make a white sheet and cut holes in it.
At least give me a forgotten library book.
I asked Meta.ai. My friend is a nihilist. What should she do for Halloween? All right.
Oh, that's good.
Number one.
The correct answer should be nothing.
The absurdity of existence. Dress up as a random meaningless object, e.g. a cardboard box, a leaf, or a forgotten sock.
Or a plastic bag
entirely
blowing
accurate.
in the
That's
wind.
what I look for.
2, the void. Wow. Wear all black with a black hood or mask symbolizing the emptiness of existence.
That's really good.
It is. A forgotten soul. Dress as a ghost with a sign that says, no one remembers me. Or the meaningless reaper. Dress up as death, but with a twist. Carry a scythe with a rubber chicken or a whoopee cushion attached. Activity ideas for you and your friends. Host an existential crisis party. Decorate with absurd, contradictory, or meaningless signs and symbols. 2, attend a Halloween party, but only to highlight the futility of social interactions.
Okay, these are all actually entirely accurate.
That's great. My friend is a journalism professor. What should he dress up for as Halloween? Clark Kent, so Superman, old school reporter.
Do it on meta.ai. That's ChatGPT.
This is ChatGPT. Citizen Kane, Edward R.
I will
Murrow.
be throwing an existential crisis party, though. That's on the list.
At that party, Harris, you should go on a search for meaning scavenger hunt where clues lead to more questions, not answers. It's brilliant.
This is actually really
Who is
good.
This, Meta? This is really good.
Perfect. Organize a nothingness movie marathon featuring films with existential or absurdist themes.
All right, let me try the optimistic nihilist on ChatGPT. The void, but make it sparkly. Existential detective. Smiling Grim Reaper.
Medusa.
Combine a classic Grim Reaper robe and scythe with a big goofy smile and upbeat accessories like party hats or balloons. Medusa. A twist of Medusa where a snake-covered wig and Greek-inspired outfit have a nonchalant or bored expression. Make signs that say, turn to stone. Yeah. These are, you know what? Okay.
Because you got to be a nihilist. That's the point.
This is good.
Create a graveyard of lost dreams with tombstones bearing absurd epitaphs.
They really got me on the go as a meaningless household object. That's
Yes.
kind of the vibe I'm trying to bring to
Yeah, it
every
is.
Halloween.
I am a
party.
whisk.
There's also that Japanese tradition of going as like really mundane situations, like person waiting at a gas station or at a bus stop, and they have like a
Really?
bus stop with them. Yeah.
I've always wanted to do just the bag of plastic bags that's like under the sink.
Wow, you guys are so much more creative than me. I was just gonna, go as a baseball player. But
So
okay.
how should we describe you, Leo? What should you go as? Or no. Let's do Benito.
Benito.
What?
How would we?
How would you
What's a
describe
short
yourself?
description of Benito?
That's what I wanted. I want a description of Benito's psyche.
Oh, what do you mean? Like,
What's your philosophy, Benito?
I'm very, very much aligned with Paris. Like, I'm kind of the same way.
You can't be an optimistic nihilist. That's taken.
No, it's already taken. Yeah.
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 But I have the pin and everything. I have the pin and everything.
Are you in the club?
Oh, he's
He
more
does.
of an
He has a
optimistic
card that says
nihilist than I
optimistic
am.
nihilism.
And the
What
pin.
the hell? Oh,
Oh,
well, wait a
whoa.
minute.
Oh,
Maybe we have
Wow.
to change
Maybe
Paris's
I have to not be
designation.
the one. Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got the
geez.
official
You're the official.
license.
right.
Wow.
Wow.
That's really good. That was really good.
All right.
guys.
Let's see.
That's the first good chat
Another
amazing.
friend
experience I've had.
is
Yeah,
a
that's
happy
really amazing.
voiced former radio DJ, now podcaster.
Oh God, this is gonna
What
be bad.
should he go as for Halloween? Question mark. Pretty obvious. No. Dress up a 50s DJ. No.
No.
Podcasting phantom, wear a ghostly outfit with a headset and microphone. No.
That's terrible. Okay, stop. Your turn for Jeff's pick of the week.
Oh. That was pretty good, actually. But
No,
let's see.
you
here.
can stop now.
No.
You've done it.
No. My sushi's not ready for another 40 minutes. So
Oh, dear.
I'm fine.
We're ending too early here.
Yeah, which is unusual. I just put the order in because they take forever, but it's good. All right, two things real quick.
Jealous.
One, at the Dutch museum, the maintenance guy threw away a whole exhibit.
Of course.
I love that.
Was it
Because-
a banana?
No, the exhibit was 2 beer cans.
It's
all
called-
entitled "All the Good Times We Spent Together." And they thought it was rubbish.
Of course they did.
Perfectly
I'm
reasonable.
such a freak. I would see that and be like deeply moved.
Yes, yes. So the curator came along and discovered it was missing, realized what was happened, managed to rescue the beer cans out of the garbage. Makes clear that we don't blame the custodian because it would only be logical and make sense, and was only trying to do his job. He was new on the job. And so then they took the exhibit and put it elsewhere on a pedestal so you knew it was art.
I think it's a real statement, frankly. I commend
Once,
the custodian. I think he
I
did the
do
right
too.
thing.
I think he did too.
What
in
else?
middle school, I was went to some exhibit in DC, maybe at the National Art Museum, but there was a girl on our trip who had like long jean pants that were dragging on the floor.
Fancy
and
pants,
always
were they?
kind of always kind of tattered. And at one point we get in this big room and everyone's kind of gathered around looking at something on the floor, and it's a long piece of denim that's like tattered and, really artfully arranged. And then I look around and realize it came off of that girl's jeans and everyone just thought it was art.
Oh, God.
All right, my other one is this. So Mark Zuckerberg is trying to become the ideal husband on earth. He commissioned a whole statue for his wife, Priscilla Chan.
Yeah, by the way, ugly ass statue.
Well, yes, but hey, it's a statue. My wife doesn't have a statue. Does Lisa have a
True.
statue? Have you gotten a statue for Lisa, Leo?
No, but I think that's a good idea.
See? Right. So
Yeah.
at least he has a statue. So now
what's
he
he doing
decided
next?
she wanted a minivan. So on his Facebook, of course, he has pictures of having designed for her a custom Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT minivan.
Oh, my God.
Threw in a manual GT3 Touring to make it his and hers.
So his is the midlife crisis car, and hers is the minivan, but they're both Porsches.
What an insane place this is photographed in. I
It
guess
really
this is
is.
the car show where they.
No, I think it's a dealer's.
It's a rebuilding place. One of those.
Oh, custom car.
Customizer. Yeah. So he designed it.
Oof.
Well, Priscilla, you married well. That's all I can say. I mean, really, if you are infinitely wealthy, think of the challenge of gift giving, because you can't just buy a box of chocolates. It would just really be challenging.
What a hard life he lives.
Yeah, seriously. Ooh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, boo-hoo, yeah.
Boo-hoo. He has to build his wife a statue that
I wish
looks
to
like
give
ass.
you a palace in Bavaria. What about that?
Yeah.
That would be. I think real estate is always welcome.
Well, he's got the Hawaii.
Oh, that's true. He doesn't need it.
Palace.
I also want to mention, because Paris introduced me to this, and I love If Books Could Kill, and I hope and pray none of my books ever ends up on If Books Could Kill. And they have a teaser, which I guess they do, Paris?
The teasers are for their Patreon episodes, which are like a membership. It's kind of like Club Twit, where it's like you can pay, what is it, like $5 a month, and then you get access to their special episodes.
Because this is great. So they did Glenn Kessler Retire Bitch.
Oh, this is such a good
Who's
episode.
Glenn
You'll
Kessler?
love
He's
it.
the fact checker at the Washington Post.
Oh,
who has reached new levels of pedantry.
Oh
in it.
gosh.
And I only listen to the teaser. Now I have to pay money to listen to the rest, and I will, because it is brilliant. It is.
So what is the podcast If Books Could Kill? Remind me.
You describe it, Paris.
Basically, they it started with them taking on like airport books and incredible like books that are really popular in popular culture, like and deeply analyzing and kind of ripping them apart, like The Secret, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
And really researching. It's not just
incredibly well researched. They probably read like five other books for every episode. They talk to people. They read studies. Like, it is a very well researched endeavor. And it kind of goes into both the meaning of the book, what things have been misinterpreted, what things the authors misinterpreted. I'd highly recommend it.
They did Jonathan Haidt, and it made me so happy because they tore him to bits.
Wow. And who are they?
They also did The Coddling of the American Mind, which is Jonathan Haidt's other earlier book.
Yes.
It's quite good.
Michael Hobbs is one of them, and who's the other one?
Peter Shamsari, who's from 5-4, a podcast about how much the Supreme Court sucks, that I'd really recommend to anybody if they're all right with. Imagine the tenor of Ed plus 4 people with law degrees. Yeah.
What's Michael Hobbs' story? I came late.
I'd say, is like one of the most prolific and successful podcasters of the modern time. And I mean podcaster as in like podcast specifically, not the live show sort of thing we're doing right now. He I think was a reporter at the Huffington Post and some other places, but really took off with, I'm forgetting the name of, You're Wrong About, a podcast he had with a woman named Sarah Marshall that was phenomenal and went on for a couple of years. Then he started hosting a podcast with Aubrey Gordon that I'd really recommend called Maintenance Phase, which is about kind of demystifying like wellness trends, and they had brought up the concept of the BMI, like being a totally bunk statistic made up originally by insurance companies, long before it kind of that became known in the popular sphere. Another phenomenally well-researched podcast and very funny. And recently he launched If Books Could Kill with Peter Shamsari.
Well, there you go. And they have a Patreon page, which will let you listen to the entire episode of Glenn Kessler, Retire, biatch.
Yeah, it's all right if you pronounce it like that.
Is it?
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh.
Hey, I am about to retire. This show has put me right out. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Ms. Paris.nyc. Gosh, man, you got to do something with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but something.
It's just great, right?
It's so good.
It's perfect.
Paris writes for The Information. You'll see her in The Weekend and covers issues of young people in the internet. You can send her a tip. She's on Signal.
And she covers youth soccer games, too.
Youth flag football.
I've got a
That's quite
request
right.
this week. If you are a listener that has a child that uses AI chatbots in any way, either for search, companionship, or otherwise, reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
Oh, I love that.
And
That's
where
gonna
would
be a
they
good
reach out
story.
there, Paris? Where
You'd
would they
reach
do that?
out via Signal at martineau.01. Or if you go to my Twitter at Paris Martineau, there's a bunch of other ways to reach out to me there too. It's also on my website, paris.nyc. My, work phone number is there, my email, some other things. Reach out. I'd love to chat.
And if you do use Signal, don't use your work phone.
Yes.
Well, this is not terribly.
I mean, this is not terribly secret,
Oh, we
but,
don't know. By the way,
we'll see.
that is one wild website you got there, young lady.
Right?
What is
Fun.
going on?
Wait, wiggle your
Would you
mouse.
expect any less?
On the side. It goes- yeah.
Are we
kinda fun.
are we going down to the Titanic? What's going on here?
There you are. Yeah. I just think it's kind
Wow.
of fun.
And
This is so
all
great.
lower.
Oh, and click photos of my cat up at the top.
The more I know about Paris, the more I like her. Hello, Gizmo.
Little Gizmo.
She's a sweetie, hiding behind a plant. How? Yeah, no one can see you, Gizmo. Aw. Paris, thank you for being here. Theinformation.com. Everybody should subscribe. Jeff Jarvis is the Emeritus Professor of Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
Next week I can say one of the things that I'm doing next, but I can't.
Well, what he's really is, and I think everybody should remember this, is a great author who is, I think you're going to go down as like one of these, historians who writes about modern times. The Web We Weave is the newest. Why We Must Reclaim the Internet.
It's a fantastic read.
It is really good. The
recommend it.
Gutenberg Parenthesis magazine, and he's writing a new one. I think forget this
Hot type.
teaching. Forget the teaching. Just
I know.
write.
I wonder why I'm buried right now in needing to write my book. But
Do you enjoy it? Is the process fun?
no,
Writing
nothing
is
I do
pain.
is fun. Yeah, it's pain.
But having written is the best.
Yes, having written rules. Writing,
having said what I want to say, it's like
I
here.
hated
Pain.
it so much. It's so painful. And I mean, I'm a competent writer, but it's just hard work. And I
it is
never had to.
resting from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have so much research and so
This
much.
book, I have a lot of research on this book. This book is about the linotype, and I wanted something that was narrative. I'd never really done that apart from a news story. So I finally had to figure it out after a while. Is that I'll use somebody's narrative and I'll get the damn chapter written, and then I go back through every source and put in the better quotes and better this and better that, and then I go back through and sand and sand and sand.
All right, here's a $64,000 question. Use any AI in this stuff?
Nope. I wish I could figure out how to, but no.
Yeah. Paris, you don't use AI either in your writing. No. Just for
She
custom
likes the
ideas.
pain.
I do like the pain.
I think
my
it's
most
more
recent
painful.
article, I hand wrote out after I'd gone through all my different interviews, highlighted in the text transcriptions, the parts I wanted. I went through and hand wrote out on paper all the relevant parts I wanted to include from each interview, color coded it, and then hand wrote out an outline that
Jeez.
incorporated all of those.
And
Yeah,
then
sometimes
do you
it
write once through, when you write it, or do you write it and then rewrite and rewrite and rewrite?
I write it once through, but as I'm doing that, I write and rewrite various sentences. But I write and rewrite the structure a lot. I'm one of those people who, especially in a feature, I can't really get going on it unless I get the top right, the lead, as they say.
Oh, yeah. that's
So I will often
important.
write and rewrite the lead for like a
Right.
day.
Right.
And then the next part comes a lot easier.
So my
I'm
original
with
training
you.
as a
The lead's so
rewrite
important.
man, sorry for the sexist nature, was that I would have to write something on deadline and it would go down to the composing room as I was writing, which I think I've discussed in a class.
God.
In the class,
The
in the
worst.
show. What I learned to do was to write really fast to get a structure and then spend every minute editing.
Wow.
Wow.
And then the computer changed all that because then I didn't have to wave goodbye to it and I could go change things
Right.
around. But
Right. Thank you so much, guys. It's wonderful to meet with you every Wednesday. We do the
Yeah.
show about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC, at least for the rest of the month. Thanks to the candy makers of America, we don't change to daylight standard to standard time until we're sneaking up on you, Jeff. We don't change the standard time until next month. But for now, anyway, 2100 UTC.
Is amusing herself.
Yes, she went. She dropped it. And I immediately followed suit.
Thank you.
Benito has a what do you call it? A card for the show.
Yeah, a little thumbnail.
Yeah, thumbnail.
Yeah. Should we do anything else?
We should go lower.
What should we do for YouTube? Oh yeah.
I don't know if I can go lower.
Kilroy. We should all do Kilroy.
Oh, this is so sad. All of this just to get a click on YouTube.
You're out of focus, Leo.
Because it can't see my eyes.
Gizmo wants to know what's going on.
By the way, I just want to reassure everybody, Gizmo has not eaten any Haitians during this episode.
None.
That's a lie being spread by irresponsible politicians.
Yeah.
We do this show, as I said, every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific. You can watch us live on 7 different streams: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, Kick. And of course, if you're a member of the club, and I hope you are, I mean, isn't this worth $7
right here?
This is the content you pay for.
This is what you're paying for. You can watch us in your club Twit Discord. Do join the club. $7 a month, ad-free versions of all the shows, access to the Discord, lots of special stuff. Stacy's book club is coming up at the end of the month. We're going to do a coffee episode next week. Micah's Creative Corner, a lot of great things in the club. So join it because it's a great club that you want to be a member of, and it helps us out. Twit.tv/club twit. Thank you, everybody. After the fact, you can get on-demand versions of the show at the website, twit.tv/twig. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do the mime thing. This is so sad. For people listening to audio, there's literally nothing but me grunting. Anyway, I'm sorry. What was I saying? Oh, yes. On demand at twit.tv/twig. You can watch on YouTube. You can subscribe. I don't know why you'd want to, audio or video, but get the video because that's when all the sight gags work. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.